Yeah, I'm gonna try to take it easy today and try not to be too, I don't know. I'm gonna try to relax a little bit. We're gonna take it easy today and be like a recap. I'm sure we'll cover some of the stuff that we talked about earlier. Well, we're gonna we're gonna work our way through this. Let's go. Don't take my word for it. Look that mess up, please.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? KCE, King
An
Chaka.
educated and united public cannot be controlled. Get organized. Learn to be active.
Looks like we got us another hit.
Did you tell her to get away from me? She's crazy.
Choose your destiny.
An educated and united public cannot be controlled. Get organized. Learn to be active. Investigate both sides of the argument. Come up with your own conclusions.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? KCE, King Chaka.
Hey, how y'all doing out there? How y'all feel? Remember, an educated public cannot be controlled. Learn to be active. The views and events expressed here are totally whacked and are not necessarily the views of anyone. ¿Cómo estás? Bien, bien. Podemos ayudarnos más? Si se puede. And don't take my word for it. Look that mess up. Look it up. Do it. Do it. The name of the show today is Random Sunday. So I think I want to start. Let's start with some headlines. You know what? No. Let's start with some doom scrolling since it's Random Sunday. I didn't get to prepare a lot for this. I ain't gonna lie to you. I worked all day and it was hot. Very, very hot. The weather, man. I do want to kind of touch on that, the weather, because there's already been two. Wait, no, the next one has been upgraded to a tropical storm. So what? One or two? I want to say two now. There's been two hurricanes named, and it's like the earliest ever in the season. So people want to say climate change isn't real, man. I don't know how you can say that, but just look at just go outside. Just go outside. hip hop. Best producer for Nas. Let's see. I gotta be careful on no telling what the hell's gonna pop up. Says at least 30 dead, more than 100 injured after multiple suicide bombings in Nigeria. What's going on in Nigeria? At least 30 people are dead, more than 100 were left injured after multiple suicide bombings were carried out at various locations in Nigeria over the weekend, sources said Sunday. Nigerian President Bola Tinubu condemned the attacks, calling them desperate acts of terror that show the pressure mounting against terrorists and the success achieved in inhibiting their ability to launch offensives. I don't know if they're inhibiting them if they're freaking doing terror attacks, but yeah, Boko Haram and all of that. A lot of that stuff, it's always the same story. Like it's outside influencers who fund these quote unquote terror groups. If you don't have an opportunity to make money really, and someone comes along and they say they're going to pay you like way more money than you could get doing anything else, but you got to carry a machine gun around and go village to village and murking people. I don't know. A lot of people would take that deal over there. I would pass on that, but I didn't grow up in the conditions that these people did, so I don't judge them. I'm not saying that it's right. I'm saying that you have pressure. That's probably what I should have named the show today was systems manage people. Systems manage people. So, the behaviors of folks tend to be as a result of the systems that you have in place. People manage systems, systems manage people. The smart folks know that if you back someone into a corner and give them very few options, you pretty much know what they're going to do. So that's what you do. You create situations where people only have a few options, and the logical option is going to be the one they're going to take most of the time. And therefore, you can predict people's behavior and you can get them to do things that you want them to do for your benefit. And there's many, many examples of that. With and here in the States, with our political system of choosing between Democrats or Republicans, like it's like our only choice. Well, I would love to see someone make a progressive party. Let's make a progressive party. Anybody out there listening who has the resources to do that, let's create a progressive party. Let's just throw this cycle out the window. And I mean, you vote for whoever you want to vote for or whatever, but start building a whole new party. And right now it's ripe for that. I really think so. I was looking at the last show when we were talking about the last time a person was nominated. They were president and they wasn't nominated by their party. And the last time that happened was when they created the Republican Party, which isn't the Republican Party of today, because the Republican Party changed once, you had the Dixiecrats moved from Democrats to Republicans. So, but when the Republican Party was created, it was as a result of a lot of unhappy people, with their party. And that's where we are today. So it's the perfect time to create a all new party. And it can really be successful because you'll have people moving in droves into this party. If all you need is the right platform, the right policies, and just say, boom, this is what we're going to focus on no matter what. This is what we're focusing on. And the people that are down with that, those policies, that platform, they're going to jump ship and they're going to hop on board. It might take a little while, but I think now is the time. North Korea says U.S. North Korea says U.S., South Korea, and Japan developing Asian NATO. Really? Asian NATO? U.S., South Korea, and Japan developing. What the hell does that even mean? North Korea has criticized a joint military exercise by the United States, South Korea, and Japan. Okay, so it was a joint exercise. I had heard about that. United States, South Korea, and Japan. Saying such drills show the relationship among the three countries has developed into the Asian version of NATO, state media reported. I think that's a stretch, and I could understand how North Korea can view it in that way, but that's a stretch right there. I was thinking about how, like, if you did have a situation, like you see the situation with Israel and Hamas, Netanyahu says we're winding down the main parts of the aggression with Hamas, and we're ramping up against Hezbollah. They've been moving troops to the border, and it's been skirmishes there for a good amount of time, and it's escalating there. And then you got Iran saying, bruh, if you attack them, Lebanon, if you do a full-on attack in Lebanon, then we are going to attack Israel. So that is a scenario that nobody really wants, because what's going to happen is you're going to have the United States. People want to be talking about Israel like they're such a huge badass. Like, I mean, they do have state-of-the-art technology. They got some of the latest stuff. Like, nobody has an Iron Dome. But then, too, nobody really needs one. You have to ask yourself, why does Israel need an Iron Dome? Like, that's kind of crazy. That's crazy. But anyways, their technology is pretty advanced, but they are a little country, and their power is very limited militarily, to the point where when you had the thing earlier this year, I want to say it was earlier this year. Yeah, it was. And when Iran kind of tapped Israel a bit as a retaliation for what Israel did, not to Hamas, but directly to Iran. And so it took the United States plus other coalition forces to protect Israel that time. And it's still, missiles and drones still made it through with all of that help, and that wasn't an all-out effort. Like, Iran wasn't trying to cause, real damage. Like, they just wanted to send a message is what they wanted to do. And they did. So, but like I say, if and it's looking like this is the direction it's heading in. If Israel launches a full offensive against Lebanon, and if Iran jumps into that, to the defense of Hezbollah and Lebanon, the United States will have to get involved in that. And that would pit direct conflict between Iran and the United States. And Iran is not no, weak country. Okay. They have a lot of people, and they have one of the biggest military, one of the biggest militaries in the world. Sophisticated, state-of-the-art stuff. So that scenario hits like that. Russia may see this as an opportunity, to be more offensive too, because you have this proxy war going on between the United States and Russia. You had the Cold War for years, and then it kind of like died off or whatever. But since the Ukraine thing has been going on, and the United States have been back in Ukraine, it becomes a proxy war between the United States and Russia, where they don't want to do a direct, confrontation between each other. But if things was to escalate in that way on that side of the world in the Middle East, I could see Russia seeing that as an opportunity to be more aggressive, because you already have, not only is it the proxy war between the United States and Russia happening in Ukraine, but you also have that happening in Syria. They haven't been covering that in the news very much, but that's still happening. So now you're gonna have a situation where you're gonna have these different countries are gonna align with each other. So you look at the BRICS. What if China was decided to get involved? If they did, which they want to stay neutral, China has been saying that for the longest. So I don't know. They would probably be the last ones to jump into it. But if they were, they're going to be on the other side. Okay, so you'll have this alignment where you will have Iran, Syria, Russia, Lebanon, all on the other side. And on this side, you would have Israel, United States, probably Qatar, Egypt. I don't know. Saudi Arabia may jump in on United States side. That situation pops off in that way. You've got World War III. And that could really happen. That could really happen. You saw recently, Russia went to North Korea and chopped it up with Kim Jong-un. So, like, why would he do that, right? What is going on? So, but if they made a pact too that, if, things escalate, that they would defend each other. So, boom, you're going to have North Korea involved on the other side. And that dude is crazy. And he does have nuclear weapons. So, bruh, the United States, we don't want this. Nobody wants this. Like, everyone wants to just make money and keep the money flowing. This would be good for like the military industrial complex, but for every other industry, it would be terrible. Just about every other industry. There'll still be some that'll, you have wartime industries that profit during wars, but the rest of us, like most normal situations, it's not going to be good. Like, no matter what the outcome is. This chick, she famous for being cute. She is cute though. Don't care about none of that. Houston Bush Intercontinental Airport sees influx in travelers, nearly 2 million passengers projected over next week. I guess like these people are leaving, coming and going. It's been really slow in the restaurant for this week. Last week was pretty bad too, but this week was really bad. It's like empty in there. And I don't know, these people going on vacation, they're going to their beach houses or whatever it is. So maybe these are some of these people that's here at the airport. I saw a video that showed like this guy, he was in an Uber and he was like, yeah, good luck finding an Uber. He was talking about Intercontinental Airport in Houston. One of the comments said, just take a shuttle to the hotel and then call the Uber from there. So you had a mountain of people just kind of waiting. And the traffic was just terrible. And, it's construction in Intercontinental too. So going there, you get lost. You make the wrong exit. You go the wrong way. The Ubers are taking forever because it's congestion and construction. It's just a whole mess. I think this is an example of showing how we are not doing things properly. An opportunity for change. One is all the cars, just too many cars. They keep building the freeways and it don't matter because more cars just congested up. So you end up in the same position, even though you got bigger, wider freeway and more of them. High speed rail is the answer. I think that I think one of the reasons why, there's two industries that's pushing against high speed rail, and it's the auto industry and the airline industry, because a lot of people take short trips, short airplane trips. And with all the baggage issues, the time in the airport, time to getting to the airport, because we don't have train in Houston, we don't have trains to go to the airport. That's another reason. That's a simple answer. Just regular old trains, not even a high-speed train, just the regular trains taking people to the airport would make a lot of sense here. But we're so backwards. And so, but high-speed rail would compete with the airline industry, because those short trips from city to city, people would take the train instead of the airline, and it would just make sense. It would be cheaper and faster. So I don't know what's holding us back with that. They have one in the works. I think they've broken ground with it for the San Antonio to Dallas or something like that. There's some Texas rail that's supposed to be coming, but we should be breaking ground with it. Like, it should have been done a long time ago. But even though whatever about the past, let's do it now. And you should definitely have an East Coast to West Coast rail easily. And you should have one going north and south along the East Coast for sure, without a doubt. Like that it would just completely make sense. Like, I don't know, somewhere New York to Atlanta, something like that, with some stops in between, in the major cities along the way, and an East Coast, West Coast one, like LA to, I don't know, South Carolina or something. I don't know what the East Coast stop would be. And, they could meet up with that North and South rail. That would make a lot of sense. And then you do the little short ones between the cities, the major cities. Bro, I don't know why people want to be in traffic. They're like, oh, you're trying to take our freedom away. Your freedom to be in traffic, bro. Your freedom to be waiting for a damn Uber for an hour, and waiting for your plane for an hour, and your bags getting lost. It's crazy. We need to live in the future. Let's live in the future, y'all. Let's read this caption. It says, influx. Can y'all hear me? I'm not very confident. Hold on. Let me check this. Influx. Can y'all hear me? All right. It says, an influx of travelers has flooded Bush Intercontinental Airport in recent days, as Houston's airport braced for a record 19 million passengers over the summer and nearly 2 million over the next week alone. Monday evening, hundreds of travelers lined the airport Terminal C departure curbs, waiting for a park and ride shuttle and ride hailing services, while parking garages were near capacity. On Tuesday, the A and B terminal garage were 92% full around 1 p.m. C, D, and E terminal garages were 100% full. Echo Park lots ranged between 72 and 88% full. And despite a new active landing policy implemented to effectively streamline the airport's traffic flow, Melissa Correa, a spokesperson for the Houston Airport System, said there has consistently been a major influx of people coming in and out of the airport, and Monday's congestion was no different than most days. It is essential, like a World Series game, a Super Bowl game, and a Taylor Swift concert letting out at the airport, she said. Houston is notorious for traffic. The airport is no different. Sounds like you're making fucking excuses. Like, you are an airport. Your job is to service people. Like, it's a big, huge airport. It's an international airport. We have two of them in Houston. So I'm sure people can make the choice between your airport and the other. So you need to be able to provide that service to these people. So you're making a damn excuse. Like, what the F? Like, do a better job. You suck. Yeah. Do effing better, you know. And all of these people here in the state are like, I want to stay in my cars and all of this. So you're part of the problem. And the airport is making excuses why they can't handle the freaking volume that they're getting. Like, bro, you had to know this stuff was coming. Like, you have all kinds of data. Like, what are all you people getting paid for? You know, do your job. James Baldwin.
Together, really it is held together by the love and the passion of very few people. Otherwise, of course, you can despair. Walk down the street of any city, any afternoon, and look around you. What you got to remember is what you're looking at is also you. Everyone you're looking at is also you. You could be that person. You could be that monster. You could be that cop. And you have to decide in yourself not to be. Love has never been a popular movement. And no one's ever wanted really to be free. The world is held together, really it is held together by the love and the passion of very few people. Otherwise, of course, you can despair. Walk down the street of any city, any afternoon, and look around you. What you got to remember is what you're looking at is also you.
So yeah, love is not a popular thing, and people don't really want to be free. To be free is to have to, you know, make your own way. And I think most people would rather just have somebody else make the way for them. It's too hard to be free. It's too hard to make your own way. You know, loving is hard because you can't expect anything in return. You just give it out freely, and people don't want to do that. Most people don't, because they want something in return for everything that they do. You can't love and expect that to be reciprocated. You know, maybe it will be, or maybe it won't. You can't be concerned with that. That's not your concern. You just love. You just unconditionally love. You know, hopefully it's reciprocated, but if not, you know, you loved, you did your part. Are you concerned about the increase in artificial intelligence? No, but I'm concerned about the decrease in real intelligence. It's crazy what goes viral. You got the Hawk 2 girl, crazy viral. It's the silliest stuff goes viral. You know, I think that it's not always organic. You know, I know that people tend to share, you know, the low vibrational stuff, you know, but I think that, you know, the algorithm kind of picks up and you know, throttles it, you know, because how come positive stuff like hardly ever to never goes viral? It can't just be because people just share low vibrational stuff, because people share higher vibrational stuff too. Like whatever moves them, you know, people share it. But it's the low vibrational stuff that always goes viral, like 99% of the time. So I think that, you know, these, you only have a few tech companies. Like, what do they say? It's like 5 of them, and they pretty much run everything. And, you know, they want to keep you in their closed loop within their app so they can make money off of advertising, and they can slow down and speed up whatever they want to slow down and speed up, because the net neutrality happened and nobody freaking cared. So they, you know, sensational stuff is how they get clicks and make money. But then too, I don't know that it's just about money, because if it was just about money, they can get clicks off of positive stuff. They can make money off of that. Maybe maybe it's not as big as the negative stuff, but I'm sure that there's a market. There's a market for everything. So the positive stuff that you can get advertisements that go specifically with that stuff, and direct specific ads for those people who are attached to this positive stuff. So I think it has more to do with that. I mean, more to it than that. I think that it has to do with controlling people and keeping people at this lower vibrational state. It's easier to control folks. It keeps people from being inquisitive and curious and pushing against the powers that be. Just keep them low vibrational, watching soft porn all day, and then we don't ever have to worry about a revolution. Yeah. It says normalize stacking assets aggressively in your 20s and 30s to make work optional in your 40s. Retiring in your 40s is for people whose grandparents did things we learned about in history textbooks. Yeah, truthfully, that's this hustle culture that they sell us on. And a lot of us, I mean, it for some people, but most of us, it's not going to happen to retire in your 40s, no matter how many assets you aggressively stack or whatever, unless you were already given like a head start from your parents with a trust fund and assets and, you know, freaking inheritance. Yeah, I'm just doom scrolling right now. Study finds fascinating link between first letter of your first name and the trajectory of your life. Yeah, I think names really are very important. When I was choosing the names of my children, we spent a really good amount of time going through names, and I think that your name has a huge impact on what you end up being in your life. One of the examples is if you have like a name that is very common, it's going to make you feel not special, you know? It's going to make you feel like you just blend in with the crowd, and you're not going to feel motivated to do anything special in your life because you're like, I'm just one of the Joes, or I'm just one of the Ashleys or whatever. Um, names are really important. I think, spend some time thinking about the name that you're going to choose for your child because it's going to have an impact on their life. That's what I think, anyways. Somebody's here. Doc. Yeah. What's up, Doc? It says some of y'all are so caught up in being pro Biden, anti Trump that you forgot to be anti racist. Biden is flat out violent and deadly white supremacist, and so is Trump. Both are seeking power in white supremacist nation. If you are anti racist, you'd be anti all of it. I don't think you have to be anti-racist necessarily to be anti all of this bull. You're just anti-bullshit, you know. But this little meme, I think this is pretty damn valid. I really can't knock this at all. So, but like I say, I don't think you have to be anti-racist to be anti.
Because I've followed Biden. I remember Biden since I was a kid because of the integration. I was one of the first years. I was in school when that happened. I remember it. I remember all the stuff he was saying leading up to it. Dude, this guy has been racist up till all of a sudden a black man ran for president and he might get onto the ticket. Then all of a sudden he wasn't near as racist as he used to be.
I agree, and that may have
And
been
now
why.
he is so anti-racist and so cool. He
Yeah,
can tell you if you don't vote for him, then you're not black,
I don't know how he
and get by with it.
Yeah, I don't know how we got a pass on that. And that may have been why Obama picked him, or it was the
Oh
consultants.
yeah. He was picked for two reasons. One, he still spoke to the older, less progressive leaning people in the Democratic Party. And two, as long as he was vice president, he is such a horrible person and politician that no one would ever try to take 44 out.
Yeah, but
him being the one that took over the presidency protected Obama more from assassination attempts than the Secret Service did.
yeah, but I think the racist part that you were alluding to, I think that part was also a factor in him being chosen. So it balanced out the ticket, if you will. But one of the things that have been coming out from the debate, the freaking black jobs thing that Trump said, and it's like, what the hell is a black job? What is a white job? What is a Hispanic job? Like, I can get the premise of what they're saying, but how can you answer that question without using race, without sounding racist? You get what I'm saying? The premise of that idea of a black job is
because the proper wording for that is jobs traditionally held by black people.
Well, just like we
That's
said.
See, that's the thing. All of these fuckers need a translator, and everyone puts on the hate translation when it comes to Trump. Just like, there's still people. I was talking to someone literally 2 days ago that said he told people to inject or drink bleach.
Yeah, well, I was talking to Pat on the last show, and I said the same thing. It's like he needs to be more careful with his wording, period. You know what I'm saying? If he means something else.
If you judge him the way you judge a 60-year politician like Biden, he's going to be making all kinds of mistakes. He's a businessman. He's a normal guy. He's not a seasoned politician. He's a seasoned businessman.
That's not
He
enough.
doesn't realize. He thinks that if he says something, people will at least take him for what he means and not try to twist everything super. You notice he is a lot more careful this time around than he was.
Yeah,
now that he learned what was going on.
I've noticed that he is, but I cannot give him a pass, period. It's too many people. He's running for the biggest office.
You don't want to give him a pass anyway. You actually think that the judgment against him in the whole court case was fair.
I do.
Even though he was in court 19 days before a charge was even made.
I do. But
that is the fucking Trump up, no pun intended, kangaroo court bullshit.
I don't agree with that, but regardless.
Yeah, but you also want him to go down. You don't like him. You like the left hate him. So everything that is negative, you automatically look at from the side of truth or the side of better before you go looking into it.
I don't hate him. You have to call a duck a duck. If the dude
said you do.
I never said I hate Trump. I never said that. I call him out. I call Biden out. I call both of them out. It doesn't matter. What I'm saying is, you're running for the biggest office of the land. You need to be careful about the words you speak. It's a lot of people listening.
Dude, he's been in politics for 4 years or 8 now.
Yeah,
it's not like he's been in politics for 50 or 60 years. That would be like you or me going out and running for an office right now. We're going to say shit that doesn't sound right. We're going to say shit that doesn't sound like a seasoned politician because that's not our focus up till then.
That's giving him a pass. That's an excuse.
No, it is not giving him a pass.
I really don't
it's
think
it's reasonably trying to understand where he's coming from instead of just going, orange man, bad, horrible man, bad thing, anything he says is bad.
I don't think
It
that I
must
would
be
ever.
wrong because he said it. Oh shit, there was an earthquake in California. Why don't we change the name of San Andreas fault to Trump's fault?
I get like 10 to 12 viewers on this live while I'm talking, and I've never said anything about freaking, you know, white jobs or black jobs or anything like that.
No,
Like,
it was
no.
just dumb. It was just a dumb phrasing. I mean, I don't know what a black job is, but I really don't think when a Mexican job is going to be a cook, a busboy, or a fucking men cook busboy or gardener, or women cook or nanny or thing. That's just ridiculous. Of course, they're not saying that. And if you automatically assume you do, that actually puts you the first one stepping into that racist mindset.
No, it's
Yes.
about
that
it's
shit
about
comes from you.
no, it's about where the comment is. He's comfortable saying this. So what is he saying at home?
Because
It's
nobody
coming
is
from
sat
inside.
in front of him and said, dude, no. This is the way you need to phrase it. Biden had 7 fucking experts grind him for the last week on everything to say properly and what to do. Trump, meanwhile, has been catching up on his campaign because he's been kept lock and fucking key in New York and away from being able to do anything. He's had to do campaign and do his job while Joe sits back and fucking has experts teach him coaching and phrasing.
Well,
Like I said, you have to keep things like that in mind. Not saying it's not a dumb, not saying it's not phrased dumb, but that's one of those that it's like, oh shit, that didn't sound right. We both say shit like that all the time. And technically, you're a 3-4 year freaking professional show host, but you still every now and then. And I know I do, and I've been doing live performance since the 90s.
Yeah, so Trump was really sharp. He was really sharp. He was on point. You know what I mean? He was getting his thoughts out. You know, Biden, not so much. You know, so, but at the same time, what I'm saying is him being sharp and on point. It makes that comment even more poignant. And that's the reason why. That's the reason why.
On point.
He was very sharp, I would say. He was very sharp
than normal. More on point than normal. And he started flagging too. You know, I watched him. Of course, it would help if instead of asking them different questions each time you go, they both had a chance to answer the same question. Because the guy actually asked Biden a question, Biden answered it. He goes to Trump, and Trump says, now I'm going to ask you this question. Now, wait, can I answer that question? He says, I'm going to ask this question anyway. You can use your 1 minute to answer whatever you want to.
Yeah, the moderator sucked.
No, he is hostile and has been hostile since against Trump forever.
Both of those.
He's the one that actually called him all kinds of. He's the one that actually called him all kinds of crazy stuff once.
Both of those moderators were terrible. Like, why did they choose them? I don't know.
Like I say, a way a debate works is each person gets a chance to talk about the subject of the question. Then they get to rebut each other, and then they get a chance for a quick final statement, or you move on to the second question after a little bit of rebuttal from each. I mean, this is not a debate. It is literally a dialectic setup in attempt to try to catch 45 saying dumb shit and doing its best to keep short answers so Biden can't drift.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a trap.
It said, this post, it says, it's just wild to me the number of people complaining about Trump's racism who have been silent on Palestine. Look in the mirror. And the reply to that, it said, most people identify as liberal because they don't want to look in the mirror. Boom.
They'd rather hold that mirror up to everyone else and say, you need to live up to this.
You're right. They are.
If you don't think that, you're not one of us, and we're coming to get you.
They are the worst. I'd rather if you're
No.
hateful and racist, just be
Look,
that.
I
Don't
gotta say,
freaking pretend.
the far end conservatives I dislike more than the far end liberals. They're both equally fucked in the head and they're both equally as whacked out. But at least the liberals are trying to come from a place of better for everyone. While
But
the
no,
far
they're
conservatives are
pretending.
coming from, well, no, I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about the actual ones. Not the posers, not the bullshit, not the ones that are trying to, communism and all that, but the ones that are actually trying to do better, but are so far whacked out of the system that they're not going to be able to do anything. At least they're
Yeah.
coming from a place trying to, at least they think they're making things better for other people. The right just wants to control and dominate when it's coming from that far out. They want to control what you do. The other side wants to control what you think. And that's a big problem for me, but at least they're not going to ship you off to a damn Bible camp. You're just going to go to a re-education center, which I think Bible camp is a lot more horrible than a re-education center.
Yeah, well,
Been to a couple of both.
Texas is trying to put they're putting forth a bill to put the 10 Commandments in every classroom. Louisiana already passed it.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
wanna
As long as they can put up the 5 pillars of Islam, the tenets of Buddhism, as long as all religions can have their basic. I'm not talking about their whole form of thing, but every single faith has somewhere between 28 to 5 major points of it. And if they're willing to put for all of them as well, then I agree. Because it's an educational atmosphere, and I believe religion as education or religious books as literature is an extremely valid class and should be open to all religious books.
Yeah, well, you know that's not gonna happen.
Oh no, they're trying to go Christian, just strict Christian and all that, and that's gonna get tossed to Supreme Court, and eventually that's going to get rolled too. If not now, 30 years from now.
Yeah, I just don't like the direction, the tone that the politics is going in. It's that separation of church and state was a fundamental thing in the Constitution.
8 years of progressive liberal leadership, followed by 4 years of riots and looting. How long did you think it was going to take before conservatives fucking started breaking? Before okay, we're gonna step back and give you that. We're gonna step back and give you that. Oh, now it's good. Once it got pushed so fucking, when the little bit of ground, instead of going, okay, cool, let's try to live, when it started getting pushed further and further, snap.
Yeah,
and it snapped because a lot of people see the unfairness in the world, and half the people say it's not there. Oh, I don't see it at all. I don't see where that went. You're stretching for that. While the other half of people are going, it's there. I watched it with my own eyes. No, you didn't. And if you think that's what you saw, you're a bad person. You didn't see that. This is what you saw. This is how you should think of that. I think you get out of my fucking head.
I think it's the incrementalism that really led to it. The people who opted out of politics, who have
incremental change, does not bother people. It's fast change, and that's the shit that went on in the last 12 16 years right now. It's been a big shift. We saw things from the 80s. Everything was shifting better. Everything was shifting better. And all of a sudden, crap, boom, bam, it's not better anymore. Now it's worse. Now it's everything. Now it's more. Now it doesn't. No one wants equality anymore. Now we have to give some people a head start because it's only fair when, equality does not necessarily mean fairness. It just means everybody gets a chance, and now we're living in a world where everybody's equal, except some people are more equal than others, or some people need to be curtailed because they've got it too good to support other people so they can, and it's like it's turning into a whole bunch of fucking crap, dude. Everybody thinks everybody that can check mark a fucking victim list off of something thinks that they're owed or they deserve something or some place in life or to be recognized or to turn their 15 minutes of fame into 50 minutes of fame like that Mulvaney creep.
Let me read this right here. It says 50% of young homeless people in San Francisco are trans queer. I was once one. At the start of Pride weekend, London Breed celebrated her expanded powers to sweep them into the trash. It says Mayor London Breed addresses the Supreme Court's decision on Grants Pass today. She says it will allow the city of San Francisco to be more aggressive on clearing homeless encampments. Yeah, I don't know that you can turn, the aggressiveness on homelessness into some kind of, gay, trans, queer attack.
No, I'm calling bullshit on that first statistic because I've not seen anything like that. I haven't heard anything like that. And I haven't seen from the pictures that I see of the encampments in the groups, I don't see that.
Well, I know that there is I know for a fact there is a good number of homeless folks who are gay.
Yes, but I'm not saying, I'm not accepting a 50% young homeless number. That's way too high.
Yeah. Well, it may be because they're saying young homeless, because like I said, I know for a fact even here in Houston, teenagers who have left home because their parents don't approve.
Also, we also have to define trans queer because there's a much larger bubble when it comes to the alphabet community than just those two. I mean, yeah. Plus, are you also considering people who are turning tricks or make money with favors? If they go both ways, does that make them one of them?
Yeah, it's a complex issue, but I would say the attack on homeless people is revving up, right? It's a recent, what was it? The Supreme Court decision where they said, no one can camp on public property. I think that's how it goes. If you're sleeping on public property, then you can be, prosecuted by the law enforcement. And that's going to be a nationwide deal.
For national, the national property. Well, there's a big problem that's been going on of people that going out and camping in the big parks. And there's little encampments and stuff out there. They'll leave their campsite to go fishing, come back, and it's been friggin' clean.
Yeah. Well, I feel like they're just attacking. They're criminalizing homelessness is what they're doing.
They're actually restoring laws from previous that have been undone over the last 20-something years.
Let me read the caption. It says, our communities must protect each other from state-sanctioned violence and mobilize to challenge state violence directed at our unhoused neighbors, as sweeps will from the Supreme Court's conservative supermajority, ruling that states criminalizing the unhoused for sleeping outside or not inflicting cruel and unusual punishment in violation of the Eighth Amendment. Where do our kin sleep? In California, companies made $100 million clearing California homeless camps, profiting off the loss of unhoused folks' property and the loss of their human rights to have a safe space to shelter and sleep. Our cities have cut funding for shelters while increasing police budgets. The solution to being unhoused is housing, not the criminalization of being unhoused. I'm aware I am closer to being unhoused than I'll ever be to being rich.
Housing is a social right, not a human right. Human rights end when someone else is being told, forced, or made to do something. So if you say it's a human right and then you say you need to build these things for the homeless, no more human right, because now you've made other people pay for it and other people build it, which makes it a social right or a taxation situation. But the very fact you exist, if you don't fucking do anything, does not give you a roof over your damn head. Matter of fact, quite the opposite. And yeah, another problem we've got right now is most of our homeless shelters are stuffed to the freaking brim. The high price of all the goods and stuff that has been passed on to them as well is affecting their ability to feed people and get goods and things like that. Because while Biden's saying the economy's good because he's pointing to the stock market, meanwhile, everyone else in the country is pointing at the grocery store shelves and going, no, it's not going good. That's where the disconnect is with these people. It's like, well, my portfolio is doing quite well. The economy is going great. Meanwhile, you know, people that are barely making it are literally having to choose whether they want to eat meat twice a week or more. You know, where red beans and rice night or spaghetti and sauce night has become a staple once or twice a week, just because those are the only things you can afford to feed larger families. And we're in Texas. Forget if you live up in the north and want to get fresh vegetables and stuff like that. You can imagine what it's like outside of the South. I mean, we're complaining about our I haven't bought anything but grapes and bananas in the last couple of years because everything else is always so expensive.
Yeah, the fruits and vegetables are really expensive. It's so crazy.
I buy I'm buying pre-packed salads, not pre-packed, but like the bags of the mixed lettuce and stuff, because it's the bag on Manager Special is the same price as just the head of lettuce. And it has actually about the same amount.
Yeah. Is there music in this? Let me see something.
Because ये आलू बहुत रेयर थे, इसलिए सबको ही इनको ट्राई करने का मन था.
Can't understand them. What language was that? We were talking about Kenya a little bit yesterday. As this week, protesters faced off with heavy-handed police in Kenya's capital, initially over a finance bill that would have imposed new levies on essential goods. Those protests escalated government protests and demonstrations.
Sorry, you had some Facebook comments because I was in there for a little bit, and Jonta Branch was in there about 45.
I don't know why those comments. I don't know why those comments don't show on my screen. I hate that, man. So I apologize to anybody who's listening who leave comments on Facebook. I can't see those comments. I have no idea why. I think they're blocking it or something, because there was a time where I was able to receive comments from Facebook and be able to see them, but I cannot see them.
You might need to reattach your account or unattach it and then reattach it. Because when they
it's
booted
been
you
like that for like a year now. I don't know if that was it when it started, but I know that it's been like a year now, because before I used to be able to see the comments from Facebook, and
Yeah,
then since then I have not been able to. And I've had people complain about that.
I wouldn't have even noticed Johnson if I hadn't had the window up for a little bit while I was rolling a couple of things before I got on.
Maybe I'll just keep, because I just opened up Facebook
I'll check
right
back
here, and I
and
can see them on Facebook.
I was gonna see. I can keep checking back and forth.
Yeah, that's.
Are we on Rumble?
Yeah, because you left comments too. You said yes, we can hear you. I don't do pickups at Bush, only drop off. Saudi Arabia will either stay neutral or sell oil to both sides with the Muslims. Yeah, I don't know. When I was making that comment about Saudi Arabia, I was thinking to myself, Saudi Arabia really could go either way. They could end up on the other side. But I think most likely they would be on our side, because of the economic.
Rumble is not coming through either.
Yeah,
but
I got to check
on Rumble. But you're playing on Rumble, which you haven't been
check
for a while.
For Rumble Social. Let me play a little bit of this clip right here. If the music isn't bad or whatever, hopefully they don't show anything.
These protesters are now calling for President Ruto's resignation. And though unarmed, they're not defenseless.
Are you not scared facing up against the police?
No, I'm not going to die on my knees. I'm going to die on my feet.
It's a tough battle, and we know who has the upper hand. But the protesters have made it very clear they won't go down without a fight.
The killings by the police has really made people feel like they are betrayed. There's a lot of rage. There's also a lot of courage. And people aren't willing to stand down right when they feel like they finally have the government's ear and the world is watching.
The fight continues at the funeral of a protester, shot and killed in the mayhem. His name was Ibrahim Wanjiku, and he was only 19 years old.
There's grief, but there's also a lot of anger here. And just by the very nature of how he died, this isn't just a procession, it's also a protest.
We feel embarrassed, but Allah, we feel embarrassed. But Allah, because whatever they have done is not fair. This is our brother. We are doing peaceful demonstration, but they decided to shoot us like bullets. But inshallah, Allah will pay for us.
He's laid to rest. But around him, there's unrest. The disturbing way he died, 2 shots in the neck, can never be buried.
Fighting, protesting for our country.
Ibrahim's best friend was marching with him the day he was killed. He tells us it could have been him instead.
He disappeared. The message came at home that he's dead, found at the mortuary in Nairobi. That's the story we had. Now we are here, burying our friend. It's so sad.
Kenya has changed forever. It is never going to be the same again. The Gen Zs have lost their innocence.
Community organizers are scrambling to identify bodies and alert families.
We are heading back there now to get the results for the 5 autopsies that were being undertaken.
They move from the cemetery to the city mortuary.
We will stand with them. I'm telling them their son, their brother, has died a hero of this country. We had Mau Mau's fighting for independence, but these are Mau Mau's fighting for the independence again.
Do you feel like young people should keep protesting?
We should keep fighting for it. We never died in vain.
An embrace of support between 2 hurting siblings, here to send off their older brother. He comes out in cold steel, and on their faces is the pain of families across the country. Kenya is reeling from a shock that has shaken it to its core. Its young people have awakened to the brutality of the state, and there's no going back.
What started off as a peaceful protest movement against a tax bill has turned into an angry confrontation between protesters and police who are fully deployed across Kenya's capital. Now, President William Ruto says he rejects the finance bill, but the concessions are not enough. And many tell us they've come too late after lives were lost in a brutal crackdown over the last 10 days.
Young Kenyan protesters are dancing with defiance. But they're quickly dispersed, with tear gas and stun grenades testing their stand. It's not over. A young man is singled out.
Yeah, I can't show any violence on here. It says this week protesters faced off with heavy-handed police in Kenya's capital initially over a finance bill that would have imposed new levies on essential goods. Those protests escalated into anti-government protests after several demonstrators were killed. I covered this pretty good on the show last time, and I was talking about the connection between this and Haiti, because you have the Kenya is the country that's sending police to Haiti to, you know, deal with the gangs and the situation that Haiti is having. So it's crazy that at the same time that Kenya is sending police to Haiti, they're having this problem at home. And I was making the connection with the IMF banks, the World Bank and the IMF, and the heavy, you know, you can't call them sanctions, but money that they owe, leading to austerity measures, cuts on everything. And that's likely what led to this tax that caused, you know, this rioting to go on. So, and I was making the connection that, you know, to understand what's going on, you kind of have to look at things through a macro level, because if you just look at these riots, you would just think the people are just wilding out or whatever, and you can't really understand what's happening. And, you know, anyways, I covered that pretty good. So y'all go watch the other show that I did on Friday.
Okay, so in the comments, Twitch is coming through, main YouTube and Chakadoo are coming through.
Oh,
I
yeah.
did not get through on Facebook. I did not get through on Rumble.
Did you
And those
see
are the only ones that I know.
Did you see any comments on those?
No, I've got
Okay.
windows open to them all day. And I'm clicking
All right.
around through them.
All right, I appreciate that. You might have had to do Chaka Nation to find it on Rumble.
No, I've got you. I follow the channel on Rumble already.
Okay. This post right here says stadiums are a great study of how little space people take up and how much space their cars need. It says, what makes biking dangerous is all the cars. What makes the bus so slow is all the cars. What makes it so everything is too far away to walk is all the space we have to reserve for the cars. It says, our urban streets are complex phenomenon, but sometimes the basic math is shockingly simple. So in this, it shows how many people taking up the space with just bikes, and then it's only 2 people for the cars for the same amount of space. As if only we were prepared to tackle catastrophic climate change the way we are in, everyone on the planet drives to the small mall on the same. It says, "You're not stuck in traffic. You are traffic. Use public transport, cycle, or walk." You are the traffic. It says, "A developed country is not a place where the poor have cars. It's where the rich use public transportation." Yeah. That's a really good argument. People are attached to their cars. I was watching this video where the dude was talking about the future, and he was saying that the cars aren't going to go anywhere because people are just so attached to their cars. I think he's right about that. I think it'll get to the point where people are going to be kind of shunned for using their cars. It's going to be like, oh, you want to drive? People are going to look down on you for doing it. Once we get to the point where public transit is better. You know,
People
you'll
are
always
already
have your
trying to
freedom.
do that now. What do you think the whole up in the fucking nose of, oh, you drive a gas car. They're already trying to bring that shame, that demoralization, that look down on you kind of mentality into it all. That's the way things get done. You make people feel like shit until they're so mad and feel so bad, their mental health breaks, and then they go nuts, and then you can use them going nuts as a reason tied back to see all the stress that it causes people.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just kind of taking it easy today because I freaking worked outside and it was really hot. I got drained and I didn't have time because I prepared for the show on Friday and then I didn't, and I worked all day on Saturday, and so I didn't really get time to prepare for this. I have a few things that I'm kind of stalling to get to right now. Let's look at some headlines. One second, y'all. So, AP top headline, it says the French far right is ahead in first round of snap elections. Here's what comes next. The far right national rally leaped into strong lead Sunday in France. First round of legislative elections, polling agencies projected. So Macron may be on his way out, is what it's looking like. That's what they're saying. I've already been seeing some of that stuff. But, you know, it's happening across Europe because in the UK, well, the Labour Party is in a good position in the UK. So, and I always talk about how like UK politics kind of compares to the United States. Usually they're ahead. Like what happens over there kind of influences what happens over here, you know, like a couple years behind. And France is kind of in that too, you know, a bit. Like they all influence each other's politics, if that makes any sense.
Well, we do need to point out, as we do a lot that when we're talking about the far right in Europe, those guys are actually moderate to us in the United States. Our left, not the ones that we complain about, but our regular left-hand party is would be moderates over in Europe.
Yeah.
So, and
would be more center.
Our moderate conservatives would be considered far right over there.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm only making that clear for two reasons. One, people over there that don't really understand where we're at in our politics, and people here in the United States that are uneducated about our and their politics. Because most of the people I talk to don't realize that, you know, they're looking, who is this crazy left-wing bastard talking this on there? Oh no, that's the right wing. That's their right wing correspondent saying that. What? I'm like, yes.
Yeah. Americans tend to be very American centric, you know. The only thing that matters in the world is what's happening in the United States.
We're the only place outside of us, the US, that when someone goes, where are you from? We don't say America. We don't say the US. We go Texas,
Yeah.
Colorado. Like anyone anywhere else in the world is going to know, you know, geography down to something like that. Like we would know counties in smaller countries.
Yeah. Well, in our defense,
Technically, that's what that is all of our states are actually would be considered counties according to the European method of figuring it out.
well, in our defense, the United States is really big.
Oh, we are freaking huge, man. From I believe from all the way to from like Rome to like Scotland is about the same length that it is, I think, like across Texas.
Yeah.
Or if not across, it's either the US or Texas, I'm not sure. But either way, you know, they say distance, oh yeah, it's 20 miles, oh, it's 40 kilometers. And we sit there and go, oh yeah, it's about an hour and a half. We measure by time, they measure by distance. That's why.
So this headline right here, it says, gathered at Camp David, Biden's family tells him to stay in the race and keep fighting. Yeah. That dismal performance is
backyard rumor is they're already looking for someone to put him in, to put him out.
Yeah, well, freaking the Democrats put themselves in this position. They could have had primaries and they could have chosen a better candidate. But they chose to go with this.
These debates are never done before the primaries.
Yeah, this is the
only
first time.
debates that go on before the primaries are the party debates. And nobody can debate Trump and nobody can debate Biden. There's literally they said for any that no one else should be there that doesn't show they're going to get more than 15 or 20% of the vote.
Yeah. Well, that's
because
they
chunked Kennedy out of this entirely.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple of other ones that they could have put in there too that are still running for president. But you know, the American people have the choice between the Republicans and the Democrats, and that's it.
Neither of them, like again, they don't have more than 15%, at least a 15% chance of winning. That's part of the rules of this debate. Why it's one-on-one. Yeah. It can only be shown on a network that's shown a presidential debate before, which means NBC, CNN, and Telemundo.
Yeah, well, that sounds rigged. It sounds rigged to me.
Technically, people aren't supposed to be using clips. They could be copyright clapped on them.
Yeah, I used a lot of clips. I used a lot of clips in Friday, so hopefully I'm okay.
Well, this headline, but you're using other people's clips too. You're not using the direct feed. So that gives you a little layer of insulation.
This next headline, it says, ultra-Orthodox protests against order to enlist in Israel military turns violent in Jerusalem. So the people aren't happy about that rule. I thought that that rule didn't actually happen, that they were talking about doing it, but from my understanding that it didn't actually happen.
If I'm not mistaken, that has been there's a certain, like one certain sect that they've, like, depending upon which leader comes in and what's going on. No, you don't have to serve. Yeah, you have to. No, you don't. Yeah, you have to. No, you don't. I think this has been bouncing back and forth for a while. That's not. I know a lot more about other things. That's not exactly a topic that came up in the stuff that we talked about Israel and stuff like that, and stuff going on. And We were more of the orthodox ones we were talking about are ones we saw around the world, not there themselves.
Yeah. So this headline right here, it says North Korea test launches 2 ballistic missiles after end of new U.S. South Korea Japan drill. So they're gonna flex their muscles after those war games that Japan and South Korea did out there. This also comes after the visit of Putin.
Those little NATO things you were talking about earlier, the thing NATO, North Korea and South Korea will never be in any kind of military alliance together ever.
Well, it was North Korea was saying that it was South Korea, Japan, and United States creating a new NATO or whatever.
He also gave birth to himself and taught himself advanced calculus.
Yeah,
just read their history book.
Yeah, so he was just talking, but it's his perspective on that.
Well, you remember right after 45 visited him, they tested that first long-range ballistic.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, hey, I got a little clout on the world stage right now. They can't do anything to me without pissing them off this quick. So, hey, let's test this crap right now.
Yeah.
Their stuff is not very good. I still want to hear more about what's going on with the trash balloons that they're dumping in South Korea.
That has passed. They're not that happened, but it's not continue. It's not an ongoing thing.
Well, I don't know. I haven't heard anything about it either way since we actually covered it.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't heard that it stopped, but I haven't heard it kept going. That's why I'm like, I wonder what's going on there.
Yeah.
I still wonder what that's about. It's like, yeah, here, throw your trash over your neighbor's fence.
Yeah, like that's such a weird thing to do.
It's just so trailer park.
This headline right here, it says family demands accountability for New York police killing of 13-year-old boy. Police say he aimed BB gun. So yeah, this one has gone viral and is turning into a thing.
Did you see the one about the off-duty security guard that shot the kid returning an airsoft pistol?
No, I didn't. I don't think I saw that. I be skipping over these a lot of times. I just, I don't have the emotional capacity to dig into them anymore. Like I've seen it too much.
The problem with that is you're leaning on police and racial violence when you just skip over shit. When you just read the headline, because
Yeah, I don't have the emotional capacity to dig through those stories. So a lot of times I tend to just skip over them. Same reason why I don't cover them in the show. If I looked into it, then I'll cover it in the show. You know what I'm saying? But if I haven't, then I'm not. Does that make sense? And right now I'm just reading the headlines and I haven't looked into this, but it has come down my timeline multiple times, but I just scrolled past it. I didn't want to go down that road. The next headline, it says Hurricane Beryl closes in Southeast Caribbean after strengthening into dangerous Category 4 storm. So these are the earliest hurricanes in the season ever, I want to say. So that's a thing, the water has been so hot for so long that it's developing these hurricanes earlier in the season. So that's a thing. I have some more on that. I kind of want to go into that. You know what? Let's look at this article. Because that's why they go by letters. So there was an A hurricane already. That's the reason why this one is a B. That's how you know how many have developed. They go down the alphabet starting with the A. So and right now I think there's a tropical depression with a C that's going on right now at the same time. I don't know if they're going to mention that in this. Is there a video for this?
You also have to remember in the last
I don't want
30
no
years of
ad.
them measuring these that it takes less storm built of a storm to be classified than it did before. So what used to be like a class 3 is now considered, or a class 2 is now considered a class 3. Because they extended it by 2 or 1 and kind of balanced it out. Stop clawing on stuff.
Let me play this.
Gotta love cats. Gotta
If
love
it
cats, especially
plays.
when you got a leather chair.
Extremely dangerous situation that's unfolding for the Windward Islands. It's going to play out overnight tonight and early Monday morning with the extremely dangerous Category 4 Hurricane Beryl moving quickly towards the Windward Islands, moving west-northwest at 18 miles per hour with maximum sustained winds of around 130 miles per hour.
Yeah, so the Caribbean is gonna get it. The upper Caribbean.
From the moment we heard about the hurricane, etc., we start putting the boats on land, which is very good. And I mean, a lot of fishermen cooperated in doing this. You know, a good group of we get together, start pulling the boat manually.
Keep them from like getting damaged by the storm surges and pushing the boats against each other. Let's read a little bit by Danica Cotto, June 30th, 2024. San Juan, Puerto Rico. Hurricane Beryl closed in on the southeastern Caribbean late Sunday after strengthening into what experts called an extremely dangerous Category 4 storm, and government officials pleaded with people to take shelter. The storm was expected to make landfall in the Windward Islands on Monday morning. Hurricane warnings were in effect in Barbados, St. Lucia, Grenada, Tobago, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. This is a very dangerous situation, warned the U.S. National Hurricane Center in Miami, saying Beryl was forecasted to bring life-threatening winds and storm surge. Beryl was centered about 150 miles, 240 kilometers southeast of Barbados late Sunday. It had maximum sustained winds of 130 miles per hour and was moving west at 20 miles per hour. It is a compact storm with hurricane force winds extending 30 miles from its center. A tropical storm warning was in effect for Martinique and Trinidad. A tropical storm watch was issued for Dominica, Haiti's entire southern coast, and for Punta Palenque in the Dominican Republic, west to the border with Haiti. Beryl was expected to pass just south of Barbados early Monday and then head into the Caribbean Sea as major hurricanes on path toward Jamaica. It was forecast to weaken by midweek, but still remain a hurricane while heading toward Mexico. The last one went into Mexico too. So maybe that'll be the trend, and that'll be good for us because, I mean, it sucks for, the Caribbean and for Mexico or whatever, but a lot of times they come up into the Gulf, when they hit Texas or Louisiana. That's the normal trick.
From actually June 1st to November 30th is the hurricane season. But even so, there's normally, I want to say something like 8, average is about 14 a year that are actually big enough to get named. They're estimating this year to be 17 to 25 named storms and 4 to 7 major hurricanes, when normally there's only about 3. So this is going to be a pretty bad year. But then if you think about it, ever since the whole pandemic, it's actually been a pretty mild summer compared to what we normally have, at least here on the Gulf. No, our 100-degree days are starting a month this year. We hardly had any until a few weeks ago.
Yeah, they've been-
and normally we're 100 degrees in a lot sooner than that.
They've
So
been
we've had
every
some
year.
milder weather. There's always hurricanes, but if you count
The-
how many they are, how many big ones, bad ones, major ones, there's been less in the last 6 or 7 years, and the
We've
things
been
have been
breaking
milder.
records. Temperature,
Dude, I'm
records
reading
year-
it right off of the fucking North American. Never
year
mind.
after
Never mind.
year
Dude. Never mind.
after
Never
year.
mind.
Breaking records.
Okay.
Let me read this. It says historic hurricane.
Atmospheric
Beryl initially-
Administration.gov is wrong. I admit it.
Let me read this. It says historic hurricane. Beryl initially strengthened into a Category 3 hurricane Sunday morning, becoming the first major hurricane east of Lesser Antilles on record for June, according to Philip Klotzbach, Colorado State University hurricane researcher. It took Beryl only 42 hours to strengthen from a tropical depression into a major hurricane, a feat accomplished only 6 other times in Atlantic hurricane history. And with September 1st as the previous earliest date, hurricane experts Sam Lilo said. Beryl then gained more power, becoming the earliest Category 4 Atlantic hurricane on record, besting Hurricane Dennis, which became a Category 4 storm on July 8, 2005. Hurricane specialist and storm surge expert Michael Lowry said. Beryl is an extremely dangerous and rare hurricane for this time of the year in this area, Lowry said in the phone interview. Usual is an understatement. Beryl is already a historic hurricane, and it hasn't struck yet. Hurricane Ivan in 2004 was the last strong hurricane to hit the southeastern Caribbean, causing catastrophic damage in Grenada as a Category 3 storm. I remember. So this is a serious threat, a very serious threat, Lowry said of Beryl. And do we want to read more of this? It says warm water fueling Beryl with ocean heat content in the deep Atlantic, the highest on record for this time of year, said Brian McNulty, a tropical meteorology researcher at the University of Miami. Lowry said the waters are now warmer than they would be at the peak of the hurricane season in September. Beryl marks the farthest east that a hurricane has formed in the tropical Atlantic in June, breaking record set in 1933, according to Klotzbach. So yeah, historic storm. Looking ahead, it says Caribbean leaders were preparing not for Beryl, but for a cluster of thunderstorms trailing the hurricane that had a 70% chance of becoming a tropical depression. Do not let your guard down, Motley said. Beryl is the second named storm in what is forecast to be an above average hurricane season, which runs from June 1st to November 30th in the Atlantic. Earlier this month, Tropical Storm Alberto came ashore in northeastern Mexico with heavy rains that resulted in 4 deaths. So, yeah. On Sunday evening, a tropical depression formed near the eastern Mexico coastal city of Veracruz, with the National Hurricane Center warning of flooding and mudslides. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration predicts that 2024 hurricane season is likely to be well above average, with between 17 and 25 named storms. The forecast calls for as many as 13 hurricanes and 4 major hurricanes. An average Atlantic hurricane season produces 14 named storms, 7 of them hurricanes, and 3 major hurricanes. Why do they do the distinction of hurricane and major hurricane? So once it gets to Category 4 and 5, or when it gets to 5, is that when they change the distinction? What else do we have here? What do we have? What do we have here? The next headline says Ukraine's convicts offered release at a high price, joining the fight against Russia. So yeah, they're running out of people in Ukraine. The war has been going on, and their soldiers aren't very many at this point. So I guess they're pulling for straws at this point and are allowing the convicts to come out and fight. I don't know if that's a good decision. Like, I mean, you do what you got to do. It says Boeing announces purchase of Spirit Aerosystem for 4.7 billion in stock. Boeing purchases Spirit. What does that mean? I don't know. Boeing, Boeing has been in the news a lot. You had the whistleblowers who mysteriously passed away. You had all of the mishaps happening with the equipment on these planes. Like one of them had a door blow out. Another one had like the landing gear, like not deploy or fall off or whatever. And you had these people coming out and saying, they're cutting corners. And that's the reason why these planes are unsafe and they shouldn't be in the air. So does that, and then Boeing decides to buy Spirit Aerosystems. What does that mean? And a lot of people are afraid to fly Spirit. Like Spirit has a bad reputation, and maybe it's just because it's a cheaper flights, but people always want to like kind of downplay Spirit. So what is the connection between that? Why would they do that? I don't know. Could just speculate, but I don't know. Let's see. Let me see. Do we want to look at? Oh, this is kind of funny. The comparison between the debate of Mitt Romney and Obama versus the Trump Biden debate. This one has been going around, and one of the things I think about when I look at this is, that the Obamacare was originally Mitt Romney care, if you will. It's the Affordable Care Act. So that's not, trying to make it clear or whatever, the confusion, because people call it Obamacare, but that never had that name. It's just that he was the one who introduced that legislation, or that he wasn't the one necessarily to introduce that legislation. It was but that legislation came out during Obama's time, and he advocated for it. And it was called the Affordable Care Act, and people named it Obamacare.
And that's why we call it Obamacare. It was
a modified,
just like
but
Biden.
It causes confusion.
Not really. You notice all of a sudden the Biden campaign is steering away from the name Bidenomics.
I don't like those terms. I don't like the Bidenomics term and the Obamacare term. But originally, like that, the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare, was a modified version of legislation put forward by Mitt Romney. It was pretty much the same deal, like with some little tweaks in it. So that's just one of the things I think about because in this one, it's going to show like lovey-dovey kind of relationship between Mitt Romney and Obama when they were having the debate.
You got to remember something too. Romney, if I remember correctly, Republican, or was?
Yeah, he was Republican.
Yeah,
the whole time.
But he continuously voted against the Republican Party so much, they called him a rhino. And word was up there that Obama had his hand so far up his ass that that's kind of why they called him Mitt.
Yeah, well, Obama was a conservative Democrat, and Romney was a liberal Republican. No. So both of them were kind of center.
Romney was so much of a flip-flopper that he probably could have been making pancakes at Waffle House as a career.
Okay. What I'm talking about is the political scale that they fall on, and that explains why they were friendly with each other. Basically, is my point. Let me play some of this.
Thank you very much, Jim, for this opportunity. I want to thank Governor Romney and the University of Denver for your hospitality.
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon, is the man I'm looking at right now. But he could be a convicted felon as soon as he gets out of office.
Thank you, Jim. It's an honor to be here with you, and I appreciate the chance to be with the president. And congratulations to you, Mr. President, on your anniversary. I'm sure this was the most romantic place you could imagine, here with me. So congratulations.
Having sex with a porn star on the night while your wife was pregnant. I mean, what are we talking about? You really have the morals of an alley cat. Take an answer. I didn't have sex with a porn star.
Tuition low for our young people. When it comes to our tax code, Governor Romney and I both agree that our corporate tax rate is too high.
Jake, both of you know that story has been totally wiped out because he made up the Charlottesville story, and you'll see it. The total initiative wrote. I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
On energy, Governor Romney and I, we both agree that we've got to boost American energy production.
And by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it? That's the biggest lie. He's a 6 handicap of all. I was an 8 handicap. Yeah. 8. But I had, you know, I've seen you swing. I know you swing. Yeah, let's not act like children. Let's not act like children. You are a child.
First, education. I agree. Education is key, particularly the future of our economy.
The whole world is blowing up under him. Never heard so much malarkey in my whole life. Kim Jong-un, we sent love letters to, and Putin, etc.
Taxation. We agree. We ought to bring the tax rates down, and I do, both for corporations and for individuals.
Molesting a woman in public. I wasn't really going to run until I saw the horrible job he did. But unfortunately, it's driven up my numbers and driven them up to a very high level because the people understand it. Let's see what your numbers are when this election is over. Let's see. You're a whiner.
I also believe that we've got to look at the energy sources of the future, like wind and solar and biofuels.
With the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look.
We embrace a new economic patriotism that says America does best when the middle class does best. And I'm looking forward to having that debate.
What a difference. 10 years? Is that what the number is? 12 years. What a difference 12 years make, right? Like, I mean, as much as you can not like Obama and not like Mitt Romney, but, well, from these clips and from what I can remember, you know, it was mostly on policy that they were, you know, sparring about. You know what I mean? And it's like our recent debate devolved into golf swings and stuff. Like, you know,
I thought it was hilarious that Biden was saying, I can outgolf a man who owns a golf course and participates in championship golf matches on a yearly basis. I was laughing my ass off.
Well, that, for me, that exchange was extremely frustrating, given that we have real situations that the American people are concerned with. The price of groceries, you know, the price of gas, you know.
Yeah, and who was the one that was not answering the questions?
What I'm saying is the American people deserve better, you know.
Yeah.
Especially from a presidential debate. Instead of them talking about their freaking golf swings,
they deserve better than fucking potato dude.
Well, you know, so it was extremely frustrating to me because, and when they went into that part about the golf swings or whatever, they had a good question. What was it about? It was about childcare. They asked, I think it was Trump. They asked, you know, what are you going to do about the skyrocketing costs of, you know, daycares and stuff like that. And, you know, it went into this, you know, tirade about golf swings. And for me, like, that is so ridiculous and so frustrating, such a waste of time. Who gives a damn who is better at golf or not?
The question was a bait question anyway.
Answer the question. Let's talk about the policy. Let's talk about the
Let's
situation. Let's talk
analyze
about
the reason why daycare has gone up so much.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
You
That's
can't
what we-
because that's a different question. And if you get off question or something like that, people get frustrated.
Well, like getting
You
off
can't
topic
explain
and talking
something.
about
You
golf
can't explain
swings.
something when you're not an economic person. And even when if I tried to explain it to you, you would lose your shit. Oh, that's not the way it is. That's not it is. That And that's why you can't debate a question like that.
So you just go into golf swings then, instead
You
of
just carry on with
engaging.
whatever, just like I do here. When you refuse to try to understand and say no, and shut shit down and shit like that, or want to continuously throw the same line in, which, by the way, you asked me not to do, and I didn't, and I don't, but you do all the time. Try to throw that one phrase that's inarguable, but it's not really inarguable. It's just distasteful. That's happened a couple of times on a couple of shows.
The debate was a disgrace.
The debate
to
shouldn't have happened
American
anyway.
And
we should be like I say, they've already decided that no one's going to win the nomination except these two.
which is another thing that's disgraceful.
But that's not what's going to happen. Because of this, I still said, I still told you, man, they're going to try to find, they may find someone else entirely. Either way, Kamala's out.
Let me.
They're gonna have to have someone strong to back Joe, or they're gonna have to have a completely different team.
Yeah, well, it's not going to happen. I covered
Kamala
in the last.
can't take first chair at all.
I covered in the last show. It's been 100 years since anything close to that has happened. So
that's funny.
The chances of it happening is very, very low. It's gonna be
the
it's gonna be
chances
Biden.
of it went from 2 to 3% to about 16% by the time that debate was over.
It's gonna be Biden versus Trump, and that's pretty much what it's gonna be.
The conventions have not happened yet.
Yeah, but
that's all I gotta say. And still, even if Biden is the president, it's the vice president that's going to be important, because 2 years after that election, they're going to pull him out, and whoever his vice president is going to step up.
Well, see, that's the scenario that I can see happening.
That's why I'm saying if they put Michelle in there, he'll win for sure.
Well, they're not.
Everybody wants Michelle.
That's not. It's not going to happen.
We don't know that because she's been talking. I don't want to, but I don't know, and just kind of trailing off kind of stuff. She says she don't want to do it, but more and more, we're hearing I might, do what needs to be done.
It's way too many specific things that would have to happen, that for that to happen, and it's just very, very unlikely.
Her applying to the DNC or applying to the Democratic Party actually, she's a member already. All she has to do is be nominated by someone, and that's seconded. Not a problem.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
There is no guarantee of the same vice presidential ticket being run the second time.
You
don't have to run with the same vice president.
What I can see happening is, which I don't think is going to happen, but if Trump was to win, if Biden to win, and then after he wins, then for some reason he can't do his duties, then you would have Kamala Harris as the president. Now that's
why they
a
didn't
scenario
do it this time.
That is a scenario that could happen. That would make sense.
I thought they were going to pull that this time, but Kamala has performed so abysmal. She's alienated people, and people just don't like her.
Well, it won't
She's
matter.
pissed off half of the world leaders. You know, Joe ignores them. At least they can brush that off. She actually goes there and calls them white supremacists and shit like that.
Well, it won't matter if Biden wins and he's like sick or something. Boom, she's the president. It's a wrap.
If she is the vice president on this time around,
she's
they
the
can
vice
still
president.
switch that. Right now, they're not going to call him incompetent until he gets elected, and then it's going to be 2 years. Because at the 2-year mark, the vice president can take over and still run for 2 full more terms.
It could happen. It could happen right
Which
after
means
the
a 10-year
inauguration.
more. No, yeah, it can, but it won't, because then she can only run for 1 more term, or whoever it is. I'm going to say it's not going to be Kamala, because I don't think he's going to pick Kamala this time around.
It's
I really don't.
It's already there.
It's not yet, though. The DNC has not voted on the candidate. Because they have not voted on their candidate, nothing is official. Do not take politicians' word for this shit. Do not take media pundits' word for this shit. After all, Bernie Sanders didn't run for president, and he was almost assured. And they switched him for Hillary. Don't trust the headlines.
That was during the primaries. Let me
again, exactly what I'm talking. The primaries are not done yet. They haven't officially elected their candidate.
Let me read some tweet replies right here. It says, people realizing that the U.S. has now become a circus is my favorite thing on internet this week. The next one, it says, Simpsons did it again. Old man yells at old man. Another tweet reply says, unbelievable in retrospect that both of these candidates were considered extremists. Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know if that's true either. Like, I don't think so. Another comment, it says, when Trump came to politics, he lowered the level to bottom. Another comment, it says, it's easy to be cordial when they are the same uniparty. Boom. Another comment, it says, last night we only saw 2 old men who badly hate each other. Another one, it says, we're so cooked. Another comment, 2012 candidates were both younger and sharper. Well, that's a fair comment right there. Okay, so this is probably going to show them going at it. Let's play some of this.
Water, what we're going to do in the next 4 years. But that's not what you've done in the last 4 years. That's the problem. In the last 4 years, you cut permits and licenses on federal land and federal waters in half.
Man, put the freaking music in there. You can't even hear what they're saying. Like, God, that's so irritating to me. It says, but that's not what you've done in the last 4 years. That's the problem.
They put the royalty-free music in and put it over that so they don't get copyright struck for playing the dialogue.
Yeah, well, it's irritating as hell to me.
Well, that's how they don't get their page taken down.
Yeah.
Hint, hint.
Well,
you might have to do that sometimes.
yeah, it's so freaking extremely, extremely frustrating. I want to play this clip. And then the captions go so fast. Let's see. I'm going to read them. It says, what we're going to do in the next 4 years. But that's not what you've done in the last 4 years. That's the problem. And that's the problem in the last 4 years. You cut permits and licenses on federal land and federal waters in half. Not true, Governor Romney. So how much did you cut them? Not true, but how much did you cut them? By then, Governor, we have actually produced more oil. No. How much did you cut the licenses and permits on federal lands and federal waters? Governor Romney, here's what we did. There were a whole bunch of oil. No, I had a question. And the question was, how much did you cut them by? That's just kind of normal banter back and forth. I'm happy to answer. The question is here. So they didn't even get to him answering the question. He was definitely dodging that question. That's normal banter. Like, that's not like so this person put reality, and they were trying to rebuttal the clip, which they definitely cherry picked the clips of them kind of like.
Well, he did. Biden did the same thing he did. He increased the number of permits allowed, but rearranged laws and permitting in ways that it's more difficult to obtain those leases.
Yeah, well, he created,
thereby creating less people actually going out and starting new stuff.
Well, he created, what do they call them? It's kind of like those national parks deals where it's off limits. He created more areas that was completely off limits for anything, like a national park. Like, you can't fish, you can't drill, he expanded that shit by a lot. And I think that was a really good thing that he did.
That's a tangent to what I'm saying now. The question was, he cut them. And the truth was, no, he didn't cut them. He actually increased them. He just made them so difficult or costly to get to that they were no longer viable sources for the people that were trying to bid on the rights to use them.
Yeah, but I remember the fracking stuff increased dramatically during Obama's terms.
That's why he honestly said we're producing more oil than ever. It's because
they started fracking.
Which that's the shit that we need to get more control over.
Yeah, because I remember famously him drinking the water. Because I remember there was a farmer who came and he brought some water from, his property after it was fracked underneath it or whatever. And he brought the water. It was all muddy and dirty looking. And he was like, yeah, so would you drink this water or whatever? So in that interview, Obama didn't drink the water, but then they had a later deal where he went out, and they did like these photo ops that they like to do, and it showed Obama drinking the water or whatever. He was like, it's perfectly fine. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I bet you they didn't show the little chlorine tab they dropped in the glass before they put the water.
Or whatever. I'm sure it wasn't the actual frack
Secret
water.
Service wouldn't have let him do it. They say, yeah, let me get my my straw here that's like 1.5 inches around. Those bio straws, the ones where you can pretty much drink radiation water and it still come out pure on the other end.
Yeah. Let me read some more tweet replies. It says, yes, when two players on the same team give you the illusion of choice, the Obamacare election, who wrote the framework for Obamacare? Romney. That's what I was saying earlier. It says 2012 scripted, 2024, what a real debate is supposed to look like. I'm calling BS on that one. I mean,
I agree with the first statement, but I do not agree with the second statement.
Yeah, come on, man. Let's move on. Another one, it says, basically, Trump doesn't have a good opponent for a debate. Okay. Well, I can agree with that, actually, but still, I mean, he could have been
I'm amazed by the fact that Trump has been out campaigning and hasn't had time to study up on this, while they locked him the potato away for a week at Camp David.
And he's still
the best of the best.
He still couldn't perform. I was talking about it in the other show. I was like, I know that the people who was coaching him was watching the debate. Like, come on, bro. We went over this, bro. Like, come on. What are you doing? We went over this, bro. Come on.
No, they're sitting back with a bottle of vodka, and every time Biden broke one of the things and said something that they told him not to say, they had to take a shot.
Yeah, drinking game. Yeah, but they was probably depressed. It's like, they're gonna blame me for this. I know they are. It's like, man, I did my job, bruh. Another tweet reply says, I'm not American and this ain't my politics, but I think not everyone should be allowed to run for president. That's just me. You know, it kind of shows how terrible our system is when these are the people that we have choices from.
Yeah, but at the same time, I completely 100% disagree. The beauty of the American system is even a homeless guy can run for president. Being able to pull it off is something completely another discussion.
Because that's
but the
exactly
beauty of
what I
our
was about to say.
system is any man from the bottom to the top can at least throw their hat into the ring.
Yeah,
it's up to them whether they get laughed out or not, or if they're in the position to be able to.
Well, it's about the money, big money in the politics. Like we were, I mentioned the one where Jamal Bowman he lost his election. Listen, Jamal Bowman lost his election as a result of all the. It was the largest, the most money spent ever in like a small ass election. It wasn't even that many people that came out to vote for this deal. Like people wasn't even aware of this happening. And, you know, he lost. A lot of money came from AIPAC against him. They were running ads. Basically what I'm saying is you can't get elected. It's costing more and more and more money each election. They break records. They're going to break records this time for this presidential election without a doubt. This will be the most. This will be the most money spent ever in a presidential election, without a doubt. And so
both of them have broken records in campaign contributions.
So anybody can run, but have no chance of winning if you don't have ads, and lots of them. People sitting on their freaking couch watching these ads, and these ads is what freaking, helps them decide on who they're going to vote for, because the people who really follow politics aren't the ones that these ads sway. You know what I mean? It's the undecided voter, the one that doesn't really follow politics at all. These ads that come on in between their favorite show or whatever helps them decide on what they're going to say, who they're going to vote for. And these damn ads are so like not honest, like they're so misleading and, over the top and ridiculous, and then they play over and over and over and over again, and these people believe that stuff, and then that's what leads them to vote for whoever they're going to vote for or whatever. So it's like, yeah, I mean, if anybody can run, but if you don't have like somebody who's willing to give you $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $300 million, you have zero chance. Let's play some of this. I don't know what this is, but
they've been feeding their base all kinds of crazy for years, primarily for political expedience.
So it says Obama to Republicans, I didn't create Trump. Your hate towards me did. When was this? This must have been after. I don't know.
So if Trump was running around saying I wasn't born here, they were okay with that as long as it helped them with votes. If some of these folks on talk radio started talking about how I was the Antichrist, it's just politics.
I used to listen to a lot of talk radio, and mostly it was the conservative radio that I listened to. Levin, Limbaugh, those guys, like the big names in conservative talk radio. I would be in my car and I'd be driving wherever I'm going, and I'd listen to that. And and I think it's true that that era of talk radio had a great impact on the political discourse that came about, in those years, like the Obama years, because
problem is Rush Limbaugh was just like the early version of Alex Jones.
yeah. So anyways, I listened to them because it was just like today, still today, even with me doing this political show that I do. I don't disagree with everything the conservatives say. You know what I mean? They have a good point sometimes. You know what I mean? And like, I also like to know where people are coming from or whatever. And so that's why I did it. Like, and you didn't really have like liberal political radio that was really popular at the time, I would say. I mean, I don't know that if there was, I wasn't aware of it.
Well,
And
we didn't have the pundit media going on at the time as bad. That was the earlier days of it, where the media was just starting to really start pushing left, and the first of the conservative bloggers, internet radio people were just starting to be like, hey, I'm telling you this is going on, look it up. They're not telling you the truth, or they're only telling you what you want to hear. And meanwhile, I'm not telling you this is reality. I'm telling you, go out. And that's the difference between Limbaugh and Alex Jones. They're very much the same mindset, conspiracy kind of thing, but Limbaugh backed up his shit.
Yeah. Well,
he actually said, here is where you can find it. Meanwhile, Alex Jones is worried about gay frogs.
Well, it was the independent media strain of it all that drew me to it, because even back then I was turned off by the major media outlets and the talking, the opinion heads, and not really getting much information out of it, and them just arguing over stuff and whatever. Man, I want to hear where the people are thinking. These pundits, these people who look at analytics and stuff all day, are so detached from, the numbers can say whatever the numbers can say, but the feel that's on the street is the feel on the street, and that's the majority of people where they are on things.
Like I keep saying about economy and stuff like that. All of our politicians, all the people with money, they're all saying, look at the stock market. Look, it's going great. Everything is, all these people that don't have to worry about a living, the ones that have already done enough and their life is paid for, to them, their investments, all they see, economy is strong for them. Things are going good. Taxes have creeped down over a while. Starting to worry about the housing income that might affect my 2 or 3 rental homes I have. Meanwhile, the rest of us are going, fuck the stock market. Look at the grocery shelf.
Yeah.
That's how we measure whether the economy is doing well.
How is my economy? How do my ends meet?
When my 3 bags of groceries in 2022 cost me $35, and I just walked out tonight paying $85 for the exact same things minus meat, because I didn't buy any meat because it's 4th of July weekend and there was none.
Yeah. So, but the point is related to the talk radio, and I think that talk radio independent strain, like independent media strain, that is what led to Trump. Like, it didn't create Trump, but there was this undertone, these rumblings that were happening while Obama was president, and it really strengthened the conservative what's the word I'm looking for? It it ignited them, it woke them up, it motivated them, and it led them to this point that they needed something, you know, to fill that void, and Trump was it. He came along at the perfect time.
Trump won the debate.
It was a phenomenon.
Trump won the election on the very first debate within the first 20 minutes of it.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is,
when Hillary called him out for saying you don't pay taxes and you're just abusing the system, and he says, and when it got back to him, he says, yeah, that doesn't make me a criminal. That makes me smart.
Listen,
just like the people that back your campaign and your people, I know the system is crooked because I use the system.
Right.
And so do your people and all of them. And you don't want to talk about that.
I agree with you on that.
Right there.
But listen, Trump filled a void. Whoa. They needed someone. It could have been anyone. It just so happened to turn out to be Trump. And what I'm saying is those Obama years and the talk radio and the way that exploded in popularity led to Trump. Trump filled a void that was created as a result of the backlash of the Obama years.
I know what you're talking about. I watched that one too.
Let me play some more what he's saying here.
You think I'm joking? Donald Trump, as he's prone to do, he didn't build the building himself, but he just slapped his name on it and took credit for it. And that's what's happened in their party. All that bile, all the exaggeration, all the stuff that was not grounded in fact, just kind of bubbled up, started surfacing. They know better, a lot of these folks who ran, and they didn't say anything. And so they don't get credit for, at the very last minute, when finally the guy that they nominated and they endorsed and they supported is caught on tape saying things that no decent person would even think, much less say, much less brag about, much less laugh about, or joke about, much less act on. You can't wait until that finally happens and then say, oh, that's too much, that's enough, and think that somehow you are showing any kind of leadership and deserve to be elected to the United States Senate.
Yeah, you can't say Obama, he definitely had a way with the crowd. You know, this guy, and you know, he had that preacher, you know, cadence that, you know, he really, you know, had his thumb on the pulse of the audience. You know what I mean? He was really able to, you know, like rev them up, if you will.
Oh, no,
you know,
he was the most eloquent speaker that we have had in probably a couple of generations. I would say he's right up there with Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, but
I'm sorry, like Reagan or not, again, he's like Obama. You have to sit back and go, the man knew how to tell a story. He knew how to make a speech. He knew how to work a crowd.
Yeah, he could work a crowd, definitely. What was I gonna say? But see, the backlash, we're talking about how Trump came about, and anybody could have filled that spot. It just so happened to have been Trump. But you know, the backlash against Obama is what it was, and you know, on the
exactly.
You
what
had
I was talking about earlier. When things get pushed so far, when they go beyond,
I don't agree with that.
People are comfortable with, shit snaps back.
On the conservative side, they had their reasons, but you also had on the left.
Anyone that didn't vote for him became racist. he was supposed to be the man to bring everything together. No, this country is more racist from the day he was put in office than it had been in 20 fucking years that I had lived in it.
Well, how can you say that like the racism came about as a result of Obama? Like that doesn't make sense. Like it had to be there
came
already.
out, became more noticed. The knife edge came on it. Do you want to sit here and pick semantics?
That's not semantics. And
yes,
so
it is. It's the way it's being phrased. Just like you were talking about phrasing earlier with Trump. Oh, he should have known better. I guess I should have known better than not to be more clear with my semantics.
Listen, the other side of it is the incrementalism. Obama let down the left also. You know what I'm saying? So you had the rumblings from the right and the talk radio, the conservative radio talk, revving people up. But then after the disappointment going into Obama's second term and his lack of let's say progressivism or whatever, his lack of accomplishments that so many on the left so many on the left was looking to come from him, and it didn't happen. That led to this disgruntlement, this disappointment, this frustration, and that is another part. So you had both sides that backlashed against, as a result of Obama's presidency that led to Trump, is what I'm saying. You had people who voted for Obama who voted for Trump. You know what I'm saying? Lots of people.
Yeah. And
so
it's what I call it's what I've discussed this quite a few times. It's called the new celebrity factor. Obama was the first celebrity president. Came out of nowhere, didn't really do much, but he was popular. He was a celebrity. So the next celebrity just happened to be on there. If they had someone with more personality and pizzazz on the left, they might have could have beat Trump. It's just like a lot of actors and stuff are starting to pop their heads into politics and things like that, and they're getting a nice little, step off because of celebrity and the way that they had been made popular and brought to the people.
I think a lot of the people,
it's smoke and fucking mirrors.
A lot of the people that follow politics just kind of, at this point, they're not showing up. They had the lowest turnout. What was I don't want to say it wrong, but the turnout for the people who are eligible voters has continued to go down, and it's like at the lowest point ever, like now. And it's because the people who follow politics are just like, this is no longer a vehicle for change, and I'm not going to get emotionally involved in this anymore. So the people who decide the elections, are these undecided voters. It's like that movie, the guy in Florida, and it came down to this guy's one vote or whatever, and he was an undecided voter. He really didn't care, and then you had both parties trying to get him to vote.
I want to say that's Mr. Independent.
That was a hilarious movie, so freaking funny to me, and it's so true.
Kevin Costner.
That was a really good movie, but like,
he's cute.
That guy, he's the guy who's deciding elections now, because the people who are politically aware are opting out, is what I'm saying. And this is also a legacy of Obama.
No, the people that are deciding elections are the ones that are drawing the districts.
Well, that's true too. That is totally true.
Now, 20%, I'll say 25% of that is not true. But for 75 to 80% of the districts, it doesn't matter if you put a Muppet with an R or a Muppet with a D on their chest. It's how the district is drawn is going to win.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, this is how we got AOC. This is how we got who's the dumb dark-haired chick that people
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Oh yeah, that's how we got fucking Alaska chick Palin, who should not be anywhere near politics.
What's her name? Just rerun.
Yeah, I'm taking shits on both sides.
Both sides.
Ilhan Omar is only where she is because of the district she's in. 80% of her district is from her original country. She's in an immigrant district.
What's the chick's name? Boebert.
That's the one, the dark-haired chick. That's the one I was trying to. Yeah. She's a politician's
she
wife.
Just won again. She just won again.
Politician. She's a politician's wife.
Let me play some more of this.
You don't get points for that. In fact, I'm more forgiving of the people who actually believe it than the people who know better and stood silently by out of political expediency because it was politically convenient. And if your only organizing principle has been to block progress and block what we've tried to do to help the American people every step of the way, so you're not even consistent anymore. You claim the mantle of the party of family values.
You know, that excuse about that the Democrats use all the time, that, you know, our hands are tied and these guys are freaking holding up what we're trying to do, that shit gets under my skin like a MFer, because when the Republicans have the majority, they push through what they want to get done. Like, they don't make excuses and say that the Democrats are keeping us from getting done what we want to get done. They just get it freaking done. The Democrats are the ones that's always saying those guys on the other side is the reason why we can't get the stuff that we want to get done. And, you know, that's why I was reading something, and they were talking about.
At one point during Obama, did he not have all three branches of executive?
Yes, he totally did when he came in. He totally did. The first 2 years,
I was going to say, I seem to think
complete dominance.
I seem to think that was the major problem. Most people who were conservative, that was the major problem they had. They would do too much sweeping change because there was no way to oppose them.
They did get the Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act passed. That was about it, though. I mean, they did a couple of other things, but that's what they got done within those first 2 years. But they could have done so much stuff. But that shit really bothers me. And I was reading, they were saying the Democrats are there to keep from progressive movements gaining steam. You know, I was reading some article that was saying that, and that was the gist of the article. And I was thinking, man, that is so freaking on point. Like, they're the ones that really be in the way of progressive stuff actually getting done. The incrementalism stuff that I mentioned earlier is part of it, but the other part is saying, you know, these other guys are what's keeping us from getting stuff done. Like, they get paid to lose. The
thing that's keeping the Democrats from getting things done are the liberals. The bathroom, boys and girls locker rooms, you know, operations on kids. It's that far side of the Democratic Party, the liberal side, the far liberal side, I'm going to call them, are so loud and so have much changed the culture that moderates won't go back to the Democratic Party, because if they do, they have to agree to and support that.
And I think part of what you're saying is right.
And the Democrats are bending the fucking knee to it, just like they did through Pelosi and the whole social experiment of the pandemic to see how much control they really had.
But you're talking about cultural issues, and the Democrats are allowing this stuff to take, center stage.
No, the Democrats are the ones that allowed the social issues to become this important. They tried to appeal to that community. They gave them that rope
and
that little bit of mileage, and now
I agree with that. But see, they could win
for it.
They could win on policies that are economic based because both sides are going to agree with this stuff. But they don't let that take front stage.
I do not see Democrats winning on economic policy because everything I look into and the writers that are included, I know.
But the stuff that you mentioned,
they're throwing money at a bad system instead of trying to rebuild the foundation. And that's the problem.
I agree with that part. So, but what I'm saying is, the things that you mentioned were cultural issues. And, if the focus was on economics, they put viable policies forward, they could win easily. Easily.
Well, that's what they're doing. They've created a sense of hopelessness with economics right now, to where nobody's going to win no matter what.
But they don't even talk about this stuff. We're talking about golf swings. Let me play some more of this.
I really want to go back and listen to that fucking clip in its entirety because, no offense, you have a real bad habit of doing the same thing that the left does and focusing just on that soundbite instead of the whole situation. And I don't recall the situation, and I remember them bannering, and it wasn't important enough for me to listen to because there was nothing of importance being said.
I watched the
If it was a jacked ass question, I don't give a damn if he fucking avoided it that way.
The question was about
if there's no way you can answer it and it be a positive because it's a loaded question, then what are you gonna do? You deflect.
That's not proper.
Or
at
you
all.
get hostile, which is, if you notice, he was doing his best not to get hostile. Yes, dude. Pick up Robert's Rules of Order, and then pick up a book on debate, and then tactics of debate, like a speech course in debate, like speech.
You come back with policy. That's what people want to hear. They want something to vote for. They want something to support. That stuff that they were talking about was not that. Let me play a little bit more.
Exactly. I know. And it's tactics. And why? Because that's what you do when you're in that situation and you have a hostile host too.
Let me play some more of this.
This is the guy you nominate and stand by and endorse and campaign with until finally at the 11th hour you withdraw your nomination.
This
You
whole
don't get
thing is
credit for
basically
that.
him shaming
So
anyone
Donald
for
Trump
giving a
may
damn
make
about Trump.
most
dude.
Republican
This is standard, so standard for this, man. This is broken record crap.
What are you saying? I
It's the
didn't hear you.
same
I'm sorry.
shit I hear and stuff on the show every day, all the time.
What are you talking about? What Obama is saying?
This, all of that.
I'm not following. Let me play some more of this.
It's a very long roundabout. I hate Trump. Trump's a bad man. If you like or support Trump, you're a fucking problem. Blah, blah, blah. It's that. It's the repetitive shit that got nowhere, started with no traction, and ended up with no traction. And it's all about shit that was made important, which, if you actually think about the situations of some of it, should never have become public, or we should have seen bigger lawsuits. But hey, Orange Man is bad, man. I understand you.
Let me play some more of this.
politicians look a little bit better by comparison. I mean, it's like the bar's gotten so low. But these are These are the same Republicans who tried to block us from rescuing the economy. Did not offer a single vote.
Yeah, this
It
is
came to the
second-term
recovery
Obama.
package
This is
that made
why I
sure
didn't
that
vote
we-
for this piece of shit the second time.
This had to be after that because he's talking about Trump, and Trump wasn't on the scene during second term Obama.
Well, good. He's managed to make me like him even fucking less in the 4 years, in the 8 years since I voted against him, or 10.
Let me play some more of this. Yeah, and he's saying that that part I was talking about, how like the Republicans are holding me up, like that's
All
the
he's
Democrats.
mentioned so far is stuff that happened and came out during his election time. I think this is during the 2020 or 2016 election.
Nah, it had to be after that. Trump was not on the scene at that time.
Started growing again long before any other advanced
Yeah, because
economy.
he was
Same
talking
folks
about
who
the grab him by the pussy meeting.
didn't vote for the auto industry assistance that resulted now in record-breaking auto sales. The same folks who tried to take away folks' health insurance every chance they get, who refuse to allow votes on giving minimum wage workers a raise, refuse to support making sure women earn equal pay for equal work. Don't act like this started with Donald Trump. I mean, he did take it to a whole new level. I got to give him credit.
Okay, so yeah, that was fairly more recent.
Yeah, so well he's talking about the unions were weak as hell during Obama. I don't know what Obama did to help boost unions during the time when he was in office. Was Obama supporting unions?
Well, we know if Biden fucking says he's for unions, he's full of shit, because he's already shut unions down twice as president.
Let's see. Brianna Joy Gray, she says, I must stress that in 2022, 75% of Democratic voters didn't want Biden to be the nominee. And Democrats still shut down the primary because they wanted the exclusive right to choose his replacement. So it says CNN poll, 75% of Democratic voters want someone other than Biden in 2024. Yeah, so, 75% of people wanted somebody else in 2022 also. And it's like when he ran the first time, didn't nobody really want him. It was that hold your nose and vote for him type of deal, because they didn't want Sanders to get in there,
Yeah,
and
like I said, we can't trust anything about Democratic Party at this point until the convention.
Yeah. So
until then, they don't have to follow any rule. Biden can get voted out entirely, but I don't think they will. I think they're going to keep him and change Kamala for a better candidate. God, I hope it's not Newsom. Newsom is right now the favorite number 2 with about 20% or something. Supposedly Biden's got like 75% is what they're saying. What his polls are saying.
Yeah, I covered that in the last show. But the Democrats did this to themselves.
Okay.
They tend to put up people who, no one likes. Like they did the same thing with Hillary Clinton.
Kamala Harris.
And they could let the primary process unfold naturally and get the best candidate, but they don't allow that to happen. So they,
all the conventions are wheeling and dealing and people going back. I mean, like I said, I've been to a convention on both sides and watched it. And it's like, hey, well, we'll give you this vice president if you give us this president. If you give us these votes, we'll give you the votes for this on the other. Or if we put your candidate in this round, help us with the other candidate, kind of thing. I mean, it's all wheeling and dealing. And hey, tell you what, if you give me your votes, I will make you Secretary of State. How do you think Hillary got it?
So
because remember, all of a sudden she went, "Hey, yeah, let's go ahead. Instead of me, I'm going to withdraw and tell you what, all my voters are all of my Democratic vote, all my convention votes I have so far. I'm going to give to Obama.
Delegates.
Yeah. All my delegates, I'm going to give to them.
Yeah. So yeah,
sorry, this is like 30 years ago for me, man.
Yeah, so
I did all this shit before I got disillusioned because I actually saw it happening.
Well, that's how Pete Buttigieg became. What is he, Secretary of the Interior or something like that? Like, then that's how Kamala Harris became VP.
Guy that freaking jammed everything up because none of his experience has anything to do with managing transportation.
Yeah, so it was the ones who were holding the most delegates during the primary when Sanders was gonna win, and then all of them dropped out, and then they put Biden in there, and then boom, that's how it happened. So and then Biden,
what?
And then Biden put all of those people in
they went for the young. Position. They went for the younger candidate.
Yeah. Right here.
Bernie's about 4 years older. Or wait, a little more. Yeah. I think Bernie's like 84.
It says, not being glib, how do you win?
Why are we still electing boomers into the fucking office?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is America. It
says I get why hello.
Let me read this.
Never mind.
Let me read this. It says, not being glib, how do you win an election when 72% of registered voters don't think you have the mental capacity to serve? So they must have did a survey here. Have mental and cognitive health to serve as president, registered voters. Does not. So you got 50. It says 50% does for Trump, and 49% does not for Trump. Well, those numbers are kind of surprising.
This way. Trump literally said, I took 2 tests, 3. Everyone's all, well, why did you have to take 2 or 3? Did the first one? I'm like, well, at least he took one and was willing to.
Yeah. Well, I don't
even know.
Said,
you don't need to take a test to my mental awareness because cannibals in Uruguay.
Yeah, well, just because Trump said that he did that, I can't.
No, he did. He took them and he put them in public record as part of his campaign. It was on his website.
Oh, okay, I didn't see that.
Why? I go to all of their when they're running for president. I go to their website and dig in, man. Matter of fact, if you look at a lot of the websites these days, you'll see commonly used phrases created by ChatGPT.
Right here, it says he was the one they controlled. It says track AIPAC, Joe Biden, President of the United States, 11,194,000 received from pro-Israel interest groups. Comment, it says, how did they shut down the primary? I guess this person doesn't really follow politics because that's what we were just talking about related to well, this time around they could have done a primary, which they don't normally do. The incumbent tends to get the nomination, but they could have done a primary on the Democratic side to
That's
find a
what the
better
DNC
candidate.
is. It hasn't. That's what I keep saying. They haven't had those yet.
No, what you're talking
Traditionally,
about is the
this debate
pledge.
between the two candidates, the right
Yeah,
and the
they
left.
haven't done a
Normally,
Democratic
they
National
don't
Convention
ever
cut.
debate until after both of those conventions are over, because
Right.
at those conventions is when they
Is when they
solidify who's
officially,
going to run.
yeah. Yes, but the
So until then,
primaries,
none of this is official yet.
yeah, it's not
We may not even
official,
see
but
Biden, but I think we're
the
going to see him and a different vice.
the primaries are over. So you could have had a primary during the primary season. You could have had, people running and given the Democratic Party an opportunity to select a better candidate. They could have done that, but they didn't. So at this point, it's automatically going to be Biden who's going to be nominated at the convention.
Not necessarily.
But see, this comment right here says, how did they shut down the primary? They didn't have one on the Democratic side, not really. Let me read another one. It says, does that mean that the Democratic leadership elite don't care at all about voters or democracy? Another one that says, this is exactly why I changed my political affiliation. This one, read op-ed, the CNN orchestrated presidential debate to help Joe Biden backfired and helped reel Donald Trump. It's time for Democrats to find an alternative centrist candidate who can bring the country together and end the political turmoil. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think a centrist is what they need. Is this gonna have the? Let's see.
世界各国犹如乘坐在同一条命运与共的大船上。
It just has the captions. I don't want to kill y'all with that. It says, Xi Jinping, the world is big enough to accommodate the common development and common progress of all countries. I guess that sums up his speech on that.
Okay, so he was given the primary after the votes were 3,894 delegates for him, 36 uncommitted, 4 for Dean Phillips, who dropped out, and 3 for Palmer. He was considered the win in the primary.
Yeah. Let me read this right here. It says, American billionaire masquerading as U.S. ambassador in Kenya, architect of Haiti deployment, architect of the finance bill with IMF, designation of Kenya as NATO ally, Sequoia U.S. trip. It says, now children are dead. Dear Kenyans, never allow her back in Nairobi. So they're saying this is the person that's had a lot to do with the situation that's going on there in Kenya. This one, it says, this is Jewish billionaire Miriam Edelson that handed Donald Trump $120 million. Miriam Edelson controlled the Trump's administration and will lead America into full-scale war in the Middle East.
Really?
So
I heard, I'm sorry. I heard that for 6 years straight, that Donald Trump is going to get us into a world war. He's going to get us into a world war. And it seemed like the world was a much fucking calmer place. Then the pandemic hit. No one really could, but that's an entirely different thing. Within 6 months, hell, I don't even think we went 2 months. We were involved in sending money to a conflict. And our president was the one who no one recognizes still that he was his gaffe on stage was what finally fucking pushed the guys to go across the line. He mistakenly said that Ukraine would be happy to allow Ukraine to join NATO. And that's when Putin moved. It all happened within like days. And it was a gaffe. I mean, they retracted it within hours. They're like, no, that's not what he meant. That's not what he meant. But that's the casus belli, Roman term for excuse, for him to cross across that line. We pulled that. I won't say we pulled the trigger, but I will say that we were probably the straw that broke that camel's back.
Let me read this right here. It says BRICS announces plans to create a grain exchange. We are grateful to all BRICS member countries for their support of the Russian initiative to create the BRICS grain exchange. Now, in accordance with instructions of the President of Russia Federation,
we can't trade our food. Our food is illegal in almost every freaking nation in the world.
Wait, let me finish reading this. It says, now in accordance with the instructions of the President of Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin, we will work together with our colleagues on the creation and development of this platform and the development of the possibility of settlements in national currencies of the BRICS countries. BRICS countries now make up about 30% of all arable land in the world. We jointly produce about 40% of grain crops, 50% of fish, and 50% of dairy products worldwide. Therefore, BRICS countries are a key platform for ensuring global food security. So, yeah, Russia produces a lot of food. I didn't know that until I was reading something about that earlier this week, I want to say. And I know that the Ukraine situation is part of that. But what if they backed that BRICS currency in like some kind of like crops, like an aggregate of crops? Could you do that?
You can't guarantee, because you can never guarantee the viability of a crop due to the randomness of weather, pests, strange event. You know, you can't guarantee that crop is going to happen. You can only bet on it.
Yeah.
I mean, remember one year the corn had that disease that came through, and it like wiped out half the corn in our country, and then it was gone. They figured out what it was. They were able to treat it. It was gone. But we still, you know, anything that was corn and corn-based or had fructose corn syrup in it, like Cokes and stuff like that, all went up.
Yeah.
Even though the cost of it on the Cokes, a 16-ounce bottle would have cost them maybe a penny more, and they went up a quarter on them. That's how long it was ago, too. They still had 16-ounce bottles. They weren't 20-ounce bottles yet.
So this is still really interesting, even if it doesn't turn into a support for a currency. Just having those countries, you know, all working together related to these crops would have a, you know, it would make them a global power in, you know, related to these crops.
Well, see, I believe the American response to that should either be seeking a strong alliance otherwise, or ensuring that our own production levels can maintain and compete with the cost of what it would be incoming. Making sure that we have tariffs in place to where their advantages don't crush our local people. You know, where we can still produce and make money off of it, and foreign markets not come in and undercut it, which is what tariffs and stuff are, which, you know, at one time, there wasn't a personal income tax. There was just a corporate income tax and tariffs. And we had roads and cities, and all of that stuff was in the building process. But then again, I'm of a firm believer that you shouldn't really have to pay income tax until you're up in the $24,000 a year or more level anyway. I think that should be zero, and then above that should start the tiered income tax.
Let me read some tweet replies. It says Putin is a serious economic strategist. He's slowly merging several nations socioeconomically, which forms a great political and military alliance without labeling it as such.
Yeah.
Another comment. It says, I'm Japanese.
I know what he's doing now.
It says, I am Japanese and I am disappointed that Japan was not present. This statement by Putin is essential. Any market will start to coexist in the West and BRICS. Then BRICS will win the West because BRICS has an extraordinary population. A large amount of people. You know, it's markets. It's like all the sanctions that they put on Russia has led to all of this. So he had to find other ways to get things done, you know, selling his stuff or whatever and buying stuff. So it has created this bipolar or multipolar world now, you know, and you got the West and you got the BRICS. So countries, you know, they can choose a side now.
No. The way this is going, there's only going to be two sides in the long run. Russia or China.
Well, China and Russia are both in the BRICS.
And the very fact that you just said that and have no understanding of what I say is exactly why it's going to end that way.
Okay. Let me read another.
You're not seeing it. You're not looking at what's going on. You have not been plugged in with China, Russia, communism, socialism, democracy. You got plugged into this later. You haven't seen what you haven't watched it develop over 40 years. And you're coming from I know this and down instead of a what the fuck kind of thing. And it
let me read some more tweet replies here.
We're about to become an irrelevant country the way things are going. We're going to lose our position as one of the top three. And then we're just England, slowly shrinking and waiting to die. To be taken over by ideologies that were never our own in the first place and introduced to us and given to us by foreign idealists, changing the meanings of things.
Well, let me read some more tweet replies here. It says, meanwhile, in the West, our communist governments are trying to cause famine, disease, and pandemics in order to starve the population. Another one that says, thanks for everything, USA, but we really don't need you anymore. We could probably get along better without you. Another one, it says, BRICS is the new norm. Another one, it says, BRICS has manpower and agrarian self-sufficiency. Last one, it says, Africa has its own grains, crops, food. We don't need China or Russia. China can't control Africa.
Africa is the main target of BRICS right now. They're trying to get all of them involved. And they're spending a whole lot of money on unstabilizing the region because it'll be easier for them to come in and help, which they're already setting up the infrastructure to do with China. If you are actually recalling these shows we've done over the last few years, couple of years, and I've been talking about this all along too, say, it's a big, big world, and there's a whole lot of plans going on, and we're looking at the moves as they're being made instead of why are these moves being made now? What's next? What's next? Where did they come from? That's why I ask why all the time.
Yeah, well, Africa, a lot of people are coming out of poverty, and it's a whole bunch of people. So, and then also these people are cutting their ties with their colonial, masters, if you will, and trying
Which
to.
means it's these guys, the Russians, the Chinese, they're not colonials. They're not like those. No, they're not like white people. They're actually both colonial empires.
Well, they're trying to. A lot of the countries, are trying to control their own destiny, control their own resources.
Yeah, and to do that, they're taking big loans out through the Chinese and the Russians to help build infrastructure and things like that, which is really good and great and helps the country. And when they start defaulting on those loans, as this and that happens and things happen like have happened South America and many other places, infrastructure and stuff will be built. And hey, well, BRICS, you've been part of BRICS, so how about we roll some BRICS people in and help control things on the ground for you a little bit.
Yeah. Let's move on. Check this out right here. It says even doctors like me are falling. Even doctors like me are falling into this medical bill trap. It says last July my daughter was still limping a week after a bike injury, and we needed a quick X-ray to rule out a fracture. As a doctor, I knew we didn't need an expensive emergency room for something this straightforward. We found an urgent care at the end of a strip mall in Chicago, and 20 minutes later, we received the good news that there was only a sprain. 2 weeks later, a bill arrived. The radiology charge from North Shore University Health System for the ankle and wrist X-rays was $1,168, a price that seemed way out of range for something that usually costs around $100 for each X-ray. I don't know where they got that $100 from, but it turns out that I'd stumbled into a lucrative corner of the healthcare market called hospital outpatient departments, or HOPs. They do some of the same outpatient care, colonoscopies, X-rays, medication injections, just as doctors' offices and clinics do. Since these facilities don't necessarily look like hospitals, patients can be easily deceived and end up with hefty financial surprises. I'm a doctor who works in a hospital every day, and I was fooled. Man, I don't know how he got fooled by that, because like everyone knows that those urgent care places are expensive. And like you're paying for the convenience of these places. They have them everywhere too. They've been popping up like everywhere. They're super convenient. Like there's one.
If you go through healthcare.gov and stuff like that, they are not covered by like 95% of the available reasonably priced insurances.
Right. So there's one right down the street. Like I could walk to one from where I'm at right now. So like they're everywhere, and their convenience is and it's that private, I don't know how to say that, but I mean, you're going to expect to have exorbitant prices when you go to these places. Like you just automatically know it, and you're going to be paying out of pocket. Like they're looking for how you're going to pay for that when you checking in. Like, I mean, they do that at other doctors' place offices.
Well, here's another thing. Because they are voluntary medical clinics with the name emergency on them, they are not considered emergency care, but they are considered a voluntary financial obligation.
And
so if you get taken to the emergency room, they can't put it as a debt on your credit score if you can't pay it back.
Yeah, but these places can.
These guys can and will.
and they're open well into the night too. Like, so you can go to these places.
Most of them are 24 hours nowadays.
Yeah, so that's what makes you end up there. And you're going to get care really quickly too. Like, the efficiency of it is another thing that drives, like I say, the convenience is what drives people in there. Because even if you went to the emergency room, the amount of like if it's in the middle of the night or something, like the amount of time it's going to be for you to get served is going to be a while, you know. And you go to these places, you're going to get served right away. It's going to be empty, and you're going to get served right away.
Out of 5 times going to Ben Taub emergency room, either myself or with somebody, the shortest time that we were seen, excluding the guy that was showing heart attack symptoms, was like 3 hours. I will say the guy showing the heart attack symptoms, they got him in a room really quick. I think we were there about 15 minutes. And as soon as they noticed he was twitching on the left side and sweating, they're like, we got to get him back there. Props to him for that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, y'all, you got lucky. Let me read this.
No, he had a heart attack about 5 minutes after they pulled him back there.
Damn.
They
So they noticed the signs.
They were on it. That's why I'm saying props
Yeah.
to him with all the people waiting and all the shit going on. Because we were told that one was going to be a 4-hour wait.
Yeah.
And if you were just feeling bad, take a couple of aspirin right now and just rest and stay here in line.
Let me read this. It says, when primary care doctor Danielle Ofrey took her daughter to urgent care last summer for an x-ray, she reflected on how the centers filled a perfect niche between the overkill of an emergency room and the near impossibility of snagging an immediate orthopedic appointment. But the medical bill came, and the radiology portion came not from the urgent care center, but from a hospital. The cost, $1,168. News outlets have reported frustration suffering by some patients receiving hospital cost charges after a visit to walk-in care centers. It's time for Congress to protect patients from both unfair pricing schemes and healthcare deception. Comments. It says the U.S. healthcare system is disgusting and predatory.
See, this is the kind of shit that I talk about when we gotta get a check on this bullshit before we can start healthcare for everybody. Because I mean, you can imagine what's going to happen if someone walks into one of those places. You know, I mean, if people want to have that convenience and they want to pay out of pocket for it, I have no problem with them being available. But in a for all situation and stuff like that, you know, well, like I said, it's gonna, every public healthcare center is gonna be backed up. I mean, like I said, we got to get if you go to an emergency room, if you have insurance, say your broken arm and all the stuff costs you $10,000. Well, that's what you're going to pay on, $10,000. I don't have insurance. You know how much my bill is going to be? About $2,300, maybe closer to 17, 18 for the exact same everything. That's what we got to fix, because if we don't, then the taxpayers are going to be paying the $10,000, not the $2,500. I'd even be okay with paying three grand if it's for everyone, because at $3,000, that's 3 people that could get their broken arms fixed. That's the kind of healthcare system we need to look at. Like I say, I'm glad I could get that out, because maybe that'll help you understand what I'm for and against and what I'm talking about. The system is what we got to work on before we can give a system to everybody. We got to get one that's going to work. Otherwise, it's going to be the new Ukraine. And I think Pfizer's making enough money for instead of, you know, us throwing more at them. Matter of fact, they're getting more free government money because they got more grants to work on more stuff.
Let me read some of these comments. It says, do you not double check beforehand in America how much things cost? Another comment, it says, Congress doesn't have the cojones to address this. It might piss off the wealthy insurance companies.
Now, for that question, no, we don't know beforehand how much things are going to cost. Even at the emergency room at the hospital, it's oh, fuck, I have to get this done. They don't have a list of broken arm, 100% fee for stupid person, 100% fee for insurance, 100% fee for high quality insurance. They don't have those written on the wall. It's not like a menu we can flip through and the doctor's going to say, I don't know anything about pricing. And the guy at the counter is going to go, well, that's the billing department. I'll have to get that done and print it up. And I can't do that until after you're treated because I have to know what you're treated for and all of that to be able to pull up how much it is.
Yep. And they're going to charge you.
I literally just described you what happens.
Yeah.
I think you've been through that, haven't you?
Yeah, I know all about that. You know,
you got kids that you take to the hospital. You know what I'm talking about.
Well, I used to work in a
it's deceptive billing even at that.
Yeah, it's all deceptive. Yeah,
you might get $300. I might come in and mine is $400 for no other reason than, well, I didn't like him as much.
Well, I used to work in a doctor's office as a medical assistant at a family practice, and you know they got billing codes for all of this stuff, but it's a little better. It's a lot better at those family practices. But they'll charge you for every little thing. You know, the Band-Aid, the IV, the
$25 for 2 aspirin.
What do they call it? The antiseptic. Every little thing there's a fee. So that's how that goes up.
Well, see, if you immediately challenge that about 20 or 30% falls off because they're actually not allowed to charge for it. But a mistake on the bill is okay. It happens, no problem. It's not illegal. It's kind of like your credit card. If you actually challenge something, it's not illegal to do that. And if the price was supposed to be different, you get the difference back. Kind of that's part of what I'm saying, the deceptive practices that need to be stopped before the government can give it for everybody.
Let me read this. It says, yes, I work in healthcare too and was charged $900 for breast ultrasound from one MD and another MD only $300. It's robbery.
Boom.
Another comment, it says, my child needed an MRI on both knees. I was absolutely shocked when the hospital called to inform me that the cost would be. Luckily, the MRI was not urgent, and I received the call as part of the pre-patient setup. I called 4 hospitals. 2 told me they couldn't tell me what the cost would be with insurance. The other 2 took a phone tree amount of time and transfers to speak with someone that would look up the cost. I did find a standalone place that does x-rays, MRIs, etc. Their cost was much lower than if I went through insurance. I just had to pay at the time of service. Very frustrating to navigate that. I'm lucky it wasn't required upon a hospital visit, as I would have not been able to shop around for more cost-effective option. And that's kind of what they do too. They lock you in.
No, that's what that's a perfect example of what I'm talking about.
Yeah, they lock you in. You don't really have no choice. You're at the place, and then they tell you need this procedure, and then they, we can do this procedure. We'll take you over there.
Why are we messing
$10,000?
Why are we messing around, man? We need to get a couple million together, get a couple of MRI machines, and start doing MRIs for people. $300 if you don't have insurance, $3,000 if you do.
Yeah. I'm sure it's all kinds of barriers to keep you from being able to actually pull it off.
$4,500 if you're on government insurance.
What was I gonna say? I had an MRI done before, and it was over the top expensive. And I remember thinking like they only pay for this machine once, like, and then they could just keep on doing MRIs for God knows how long. What justifies the price?
It's like
Like,
it's like air conditioning and stuff like that. There's still replacement parts, management, upkeep, and all of that. Tax. Just think of it like a home, but it depreciates. No, think of it like a car. It runs down more and more and more every year till you have to start repairing it. And again, the more of them that are getting made, the more they're putting into planned obsolescence.
yeah, I have to
So
call
that
BS on
forces them
that.
to. No, it's
I'm,
not. It's the way equipment sales are done, dude. It's the way
okay,
equipment works.
okay.
You
Even if
buy it. If you buy, what do you have other than a 1970s refrigerator that fucking continues working forever?
yeah, I don't,
It degrades, it devalues. You have to
I'm
repair it,
I'm
maintenance,
sure
upkeep, the
over a
continuing
long period
cost
of
of
time,
operating it.
if the damn thing costs $250,000 and they're charging $10,000 per MRI, that thing got paid for within like a month, probably, or maybe a couple of months. And what justifies the cost after all of that? Like, I don't think so. I think that's all the way bullshit. Like the electricity
Then
that
it
runs
becomes a
it.
lottery, because then it's kind of like an illegal lottery to who can get to there the first and stuff like that. I mean, plus they have to pay for maintenance on other things, health, building costs, salaries, and insurance, millions of dollars a year insurance. So the doctor that makes a mistake doesn't get sued for $400 million and shit like that.
Let me read this one. It says,
You know, a small town country doctor's insurance bill every year, if they're lucky, is $200,000 to $300,000. And I'm talking country doctor, backwoods, low liability kind of dude.
yeah. Let me read this. It says, in the U.S., medical centers now charge a facilities fee just to come to the appointment, and insurance usually doesn't cover it. I've been slapped with facility use fees over and over for the last year, and I refuse to pay them. They range between $40 and $190 per visit, simply for sitting and talking with my doctor for 2 minutes for follow-up on an ongoing issue, usually less than 2 minutes actually, or for having follow-up blood work done. It's outrageous. My mother got a lawyer to deal with hers because she has to go to the doctor twice a week for her disease, and was shelling out $600 to $800 a month in bogus fees until finally she hired a lawyer. We all need to revolt. That fee kind of makes sense. I mean, like when you come in and for a visit, I mean,
see, you're asking why the MRI costs so much, because that for your whole building and stuff is factored into your costs. And it shouldn't be an extra charge. You shouldn't charge me 40. Well, there's now, see, facility and use fee and office visit are two different charges. Your insurance covers your office visit, or your base office visit, like 20 or 40 bucks is what it costs you. A facility use fee is a different one they've added now. So you pay, if you don't challenge, if you've got good insurance to where you pay, now you got one of those badass plans that probably costs more than a freaking kidney to have every year anyway. Your bill comes with an office use and a office visit fee. I don't think she's talking about the same thing, because there's always been, you always pay 50, 60 bucks to see your doctor.
Yeah. Let me
now, not on follow-ups. Like if you're just follow-up to seeing them for a few minutes, normally your office visit's only like 20 bucks.
Well, that's what she said. Follow-up visits.
Okay,
That's what she was talking about.
that might be, she might be thinking the doctor's the office visit, which I'm sorry, those have always been part of your bill.
Yeah.
That pays for the cute little chick that's calling your name out to have her job, and the guy's drawing blood, which is also worked into an advance price on all of your fees, including stuff like the high-end crap.
Let me read this. It says, before the dealership does any work on my car, I get a quote on parts and labor. I feel like this needs to be the case in healthcare. I like that. That sounds great. You know, it's like it's straightforward. And then you can say no or whatever. You can be like, I don't want that part, or can we find parts from somewhere else? Or can I bring my own parts? Or, you know, I only want this done and that done or whatever. I mean, we kind of got that in healthcare, but it's so much, it's so opaque. Let me read this one. It says, urgent care has been a racket for a long time. If it's that serious that you can't wait for a regular doctor, go to an ER. Not worth being treated by low-skilled revolving door practitioners at higher cost for lower quality care. The care at these urgent care places be good.
We need to open one of these.
In my experience,
we need to bankroll opening one of these and make sure we find a place right between an elementary school and a middle school to where you got to pass it either which one you go to. Because them parents will be picking them kids up from school and going, oh fuck, here, I got to take it. Look, here's an urgent care right here, man.
Yeah.
And we'll even work with your insurance for like double the cost.
Let me play this. Check this out.
Vote. Democrats have used the Supreme Court card to lecture progressives about the need to support them. Voters have been told for decades that every election could come down to a woman's right to choose. This gun to the heads of the left demands we conform and comply for the sake of protecting these sacred rights, telling them, if you don't like the Democratic Party nominee, too bad. You're not really voting for the next president. You're voting for the Supreme Court. Look, we need to stop thinking of the Democrats as helpless kittens that are just outsmarted in battle time and again. They simply don't care about us. They didn't fight for us because they don't want to fight for us. Remember when Obama had a supermajority in the House and Senate the first 2 years in office and only managed to get us Romney care? Then he let the GOP block his moderate Supreme Court pick Merrick Garland because it was too divisive during an election. This gave Trump 3 vacancies to ram judges through. Interestingly, in the past 50 years, the Democrats have actually only been able to get 4 justices appointed, compared to the Republicans' 15, despite the pendulum swinging back and forth on which party holds the White House. But let's take a step back for a moment. Even if they were to expand the court, balancing it out with liberals, or even if the whole court was entirely picked by Democrats, what would that really mean? First of all, the Supreme Court is bound to the Constitution, deciphering what the Founding Fathers intended when writing it, or rather what the slave-owning aristocracy nearly 300 years ago wanted. The U.S. Constitution was created as an instrument to protect the ruling class, their private property, and their wealth. First, the slaveocracy, it's since been modified to fit the needs of the capitalist class. For example, as soon as the U.S. Constitution was amended to abolish slavery, it was also amended to state that corporations should be considered people, but with more rights. From then until now, most cases the Supreme Court deals with are for corporations. Secondly, the main purpose of the Supreme Court is to overturn anything passed by Congress deemed unconstitutional under this capitalist, meaning the Supreme Court is explicitly undemocratic. In other words, if the democratically elected Congress passes anything democratically that the ruling class does not like, our SCOTUS lords can simply swoop in and scrap the whole thing. It really is the last line of defense for the super rich against progressive change, to block the gains of mass movements, even if they win that holy grail of pushing Congress or the White House left. Imagine what would happen if we won Medicare for all. While the demand to expand the court would be a progressive reform, it would still be stuck in this horrible framework and system of legal inequality. The entire Supreme Court really needs to be abolished, and we shouldn't be afraid to say it. And while we're at it, we need a new constitution too. This court is considered the great moral arbiter when they've often been on the wrong side of history. For example, codifying Jim Crow segregation and the internment of Japanese Americans in concentration camps. And who could forget when they handpicked our president, George W. Bush, after he lost the election? Today, all the hand-wringing about why we must turn to the Democrats to maybe appoint a better justice is based on the fact that a small number of times throughout our history, the Supreme Court has made landmark progressive rulings. They point mainly to decisions overturning segregation as well as upholding the right to abortion and same-sex marriage as proof that everything hinges on who is put in the court by way of who we elect to the White House. But a deeper look at those watershed cases tells a different story. In each one of those instances, it was not good-natured justices doing the right thing. Each of them were the result of mass movements in the streets, on the shoulders of decades of militant grassroots organizing that made this system fear making any other decision. In fact, Roe v. Wade happened in the first place under the reactionary Nixon administration and a right-wing Supreme Court. So a woman's movement today can defend it under the same circumstances. Millions are terrified about what this new court dynamic will mean, and it's a legitimate fear. Instead of letting them corral you into an unjust political system that makes you feel the only power you have is to vote, history shows us the power of the people can tip the scales. We need to look at our own potential, our own capacity to organize and defend our rights. For as long as I've been able to vote, Democrats have used the Supreme Court card to let.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about on the show kind of popped up in that segment, right? A number of things that we've already mentioned came up in that clip right there. And I talked about the Supreme Court a lot in the last show, and how, you know, the motivations, like, to vote, like, regardless of how you feel about a lot of things, the Supreme Court is like that last little part to kind of nudge you into voting. Like, you know, because people want to hold their nose and vote, right? Because it's like, I don't have anybody that I really want to vote for or whatever. Like, they gave me the choice between stir-fried shit and baked shit, you know, and I'd really rather pass.
They vote because they hate someone and not because they like someone.
Right. They're voting against someone. Right. So, and then you have that the Supreme Court is the last little extra nudge to get you to the polls, because you're thinking about, because they said it could be a chance of 2 Supreme Court justices being appointed in this next presidential 4 years. I'm not sure who those 2 are that they're mentioned, that they're talking about, but that's what they're saying. They're saying that the next president could have a chance to appoint 2 justices. So, you know, and you know, a lot of what she's saying is making sense. Like, I really feel, you know, this system that we have of the way it's set up is, it forces people, you know, to accept you know, a political system that's flawed. You know what I mean? And you like, you don't have any choice, and then you're like you have to do something because it matters. And one of the last things, like I say, is the Supreme Court justices and how influential the Supreme Court is on what laws, you know, make it, you know,
on how the law is constitutionally interpreted.
Yeah, how they're interpreted.
That is their job. Their entire job is to look at a case and go, does this agree with the Constitution or does it go against the Constitution? That's it. That is all they can do. That's all they should be able to do.
Yeah,
I mean, anything beyond the scope of that is them stepping out of their fucking lane.
I'm surprised there's not more comments on this. So the
And
caption,
they're not, and they can't bring up cases themselves that they think need to be. It can only be a case brought up by the people.
right? Yeah. So the legitimacy of the Supreme Court is, not very
I think we should.
strong
I
right now.
think that the United States. I think that the Supreme Court, or not the Supreme Court. I think that the House and the Senate should put forth a vote of no confidence in Clarence Thomas to the people.
Yeah. Well, right
They say
now,
we want to say we don't believe he is an unbiased judge. We think he has been compromised by his biases and the cases that he has gone on. And he has said that he is not, but he has still ruled on cases that have direct links to his family, to his own finances, and to people who show him spend a whole lot of money that they wouldn't just on a friend.
yeah, but
And
there's
because of this, we're not going to vote as Congress and Senate on this no confidence. We're going to put it up on election day to the American people. Yes or no, do we have confidence in him as our Supreme Court justice?
well, even if they did that, it would mean nothing.
I don't care. You know what it would mean to me? That they're trying.
Yeah, well, no difference would happen as a result. I mean, there's
really?
no real.
It would get him no vote of no confidence, takes him out of office.
That's not how that works. The
Yes,
Supreme Court
that's what
justice.
a vote of no confidence does. It's unprecedented. It's something that's never been done, but it can be done.
You have to impeach a Supreme Court justice.
Yes.
And even if they're impeached, I don't think that they can be forced out. It's kind of like the presidency.
An impeachment.
I think they would have to.
No,
They'd have to choose to step down.
No. An impeachment can remove someone from office and can go so far as to block them from ever attaining office again.
Yeah. Well,
yes, it's in the read it. It's in the Constitution.
The confidence that the American people have in the Supreme Court is not very strong right now.
That's why I'm saying put him to a vote to the people instead of everyone supporting him. Let's make it like they want. Let's see what the people of the Republic want as to whether or not we feel he's compromised or not.
Well, even if somehow you was able to get Clarence Thomas out of there, that wouldn't make much of a difference related to the confidence of the Supreme Court.
Here you go with the negative no matter what. No matter what steps you make, no matter what you try to do, you're going to keep on with it ain't going to work, it ain't going to work, it ain't going to work. Nothing will ever work in the world if all you do is say, it's not going to work. And you're normally the one trying to say this to me.
Well, I'm pragmatic and logical.
Not really, because every time I bring up the fact that it's not going to work because of this or this, you say, I don't see it that way. No, that's not the way that works.
Okay. So what I was trying to say was if you have a situation where the American people don't have confidence in the Supreme Court, it leads to people not respecting the law at all. It'll get to the point where people feel like they don't have to follow any laws.
We're already getting to that point.
That's what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying.
And that
I'm
has
saying
nothing to do with the Supreme Court. That has to do with a neutered fucking justice system and a neutered fucking police force.
Yeah, well, when you have that situation, your last recourse should be the Supreme Court, which should make things right. But that is not what's been happening. And people don't feel like the Supreme Court is unbiased.
What has been happening that's not right?
People don't feel like they are interpreting the laws in a constitutional manner.
Again, generic answer. Let's talk about specifics. See, you're sitting there saying, "Don't generalize. You can't generalize. You can't generalize," but you're generalizing.
There's like I don't. Where are you getting this from?
You literally just sit there and said they don't like their decisions, and when I say what decision, well, the decisions that they make and the things in.
I've made many arguments related to specific cases
and I keep
of
saying,
the
let's
Supreme Court.
analyze, and you won't fucking analyze.
Let's move on. What is this one? There goes the music again. 2019, more teachers resigned than any other prior year. A new record in 2020, again in 2021. Again in 2022, and broke all previous records in 2023. So it says, what are the top 3 reasons for such massive decline? What can educators and administrators do to help react to the decline? So comment, it says lack of respect, lack of support, unreasonable expectations, micromanaging, student behavior, compensation. You know, you can add to that, putting the 10 Commandments in the classroom instead of giving the kids lunch. It says for the next 3 years, over 270,000 teachers are expected to quit each year. Dang, 270,000? God. Another comment, it says lack of consequences for students, lack of respect for the students, administration, parents, poor compensation, given amount of work, multiple degrees required, emotional toll on educators. Another one, it says parents, politics, pay. She kept it real simple. Parents, politics, pay. You know, I think that this is one of the things that should be, you know, in the forefront of people's minds. You know, people talk about the children getting indoctrinated or whatever. They talk about these cultural issues or whatever. But the quality of education is not what they're talking about. You know what I mean? Paying the teachers is not what they're talking about. Facilities, improving the facilities is not what they're talking about, you know. And HISD got this, the new guy, the superintendent, Mike Miles, I want to say his name is, and you know, he wasn't very successful in Dallas, and then they hired him in HISD. I think, you know, and I've said this before, that they are sabotaging public education on purpose, okay? And it's driving people in droves to private schools. And the whole thing is a money transfer from public to private. And so you have all of these tax dollars, and then they're like, no child left behind, or the money follows the child, and vouchers and all of this stuff that just leads to less money for the public schools, and you know, the private schools making a killing. And a lot of times it's leaving these regular kids, these like inner city kids, behind, because parents can't afford to put their kids in the private schools. So they're left in the deteriorating public school system, and they're not getting educated, and they're not being set up for success in life. And this is the kind of stuff that they should have been talking about in the presidential debate over the banter that was happening there. You know, what is your policy to help our failing schools? You know, that could have been a question. And I would have loved to have heard Trump's answer. I would have loved to have heard Biden's answer to that question. What policies can you put forth to improve the public education systems across the nation? comment. It says the amount of money it costs to become a teacher and then the pay you get when you get out makes it nearly impossible to sustain a living. Got to pay back those student loans, get a damn master's degree, and just be a freaking science school teacher and get paid $75 a year or something. And it's like that too, you know, all of the, you know, the social workers, the people that like really make a difference, like don't get paid anything. And then they have to go to school for those jobs. And it's really, really sad. The people that have a heart and really want to make a difference in the world are the ones that get to struggle. You go out there and you play ball really well, you'll get paid a lot. You entertain people on the internet with fart jokes or soft porn, you can make a good living for yourself. Another comment says, there's a societal attack on public education that hugely impacts the classroom. The biggest day-to-day reason teachers are leaving, students' behavior and no support from administration. Yeah, I think so too. And they use these culture wars as, you know, making the school a battleground. Like somehow the education of the child is getting lost in the culture wars. Comment, it says, still a teacher, but some of the crap I hear, remember your why. If you don't work the extra hours, you don't care about kids. We aren't here for the money. He hit you. What could you have done differently? Is this an abusive relationship, sir? Another comment, it says, the amount of trash talk I see about teachers every single day on social media is insane. We're not respected at all. We struggle and work extremely hard, and we are not compensated for that or the amount of schooling we had to put in. Student behaviors and lack of accountability and responsibility for those actions have me wanting to quit. It's not about compensation for me. It's about the disrespect. I want to teach reading, math, history, and science, not respect and manners. That should be taught at home, and it's not happening. Yeah, why do they badmouth teachers? Like, it's the teacher's fault. Like, they're the ones. It's like they're indoctrinating my child. And they're, you know, making my child gay. Let's do this last one. I'm gonna get out of here. I'm tired.
Diversity and inclusion, the only way America will survive.
Black people are too emotional on this topic, and some white people are too narrow-minded and fearful. By the way, none of my comments are racial. This is just the math. Okay, so now let's deal with diversity and inclusion. What's the biggest economy in the world? I've already said it, the U.S. What's the most diverse country in the world? The U.S. What are the two most diverse states? California and New York. What's the two most prosperous states? California and New York. What's the biggest economy in the South? Atlanta. $455 billion a year. 10th largest economy in the United States. What's the most diverse place in the traditional South? Atlanta. You take 6 states around Atlanta. States, not cities. You can name them. Alabama, Mississippi, like you can name them. Atlanta city economy is bigger than all 6 states. You can take 3 of those states together, put them inside a bucket, and sit it inside of the city of Atlanta's economy. That's because diversity is actually good business. If you're a business today, a company, a Fortune 500 company, you're 36 more likely to be prosperous and profitable if you're diverse and inclusive.
I is diversity and inclusion.
Only way. So the craziness of the attacks on diversity, equity, and inclusion is really the shooting yourself in the foot. Like, this guy is explaining how diversity and equity and inclusion is actually is good for business. You make money off of it. So it's really like going backwards and undoing things, like making things not as good as it could be by, you know, not wanting to have, you know, diversity. It's really, really crazy. You know, it's really insane. So it says The Economics of Diversity by John Hope Bryant. Diversity and inclusion are the only way America will survive, but some Black people are too emotional and some white people are too narrow-minded and fearful on the topic. If you have a business or a Fortune 500 company, you're more likely to be prosperous and profitable if you're diverse and inclusive. So diversity is actually good business. comment. It says diversity brings diverse thoughts, diverse education, experience, ideas, and it has been statistically proven to have quite a massive impact on companies' capabilities and output. Another comment says, easy to talk this way from a position of wealth and power already. Man, the numbers are the numbers, bro. Another comment, it says that Atlanta stat is not true, but I agree with him overall. Another comment, it says, hate and bigotry will never go away, but diversity will always move forward. Racism is only good for business if you only want your people to use your business. And even then, over time, it'll diminish. Race is just a construct humans made up a long time ago. Diversity is the only solution. Another one, it says, diversity creates resilience in any and all systems. Another comment, it says, because we keep teaching tolerance and not acceptance, it's the only answer. A couple more. It says, diversity, inclusion, and sustainability. If we don't embrace sustainable alternative to the way we are living, the global south will continue to be taken advantage of. It's all for naught. Please look into the solar punk movement. It's a grassroots movement started in Brazil. A lot of those topics are discussed frequently in that space. Another one. I need to see the diversity and inclusion stats for the C-suites and higher ups for those companies. But right now, to me, it almost sounds like those are places where the elite are using the labor of other groups of people. Correlation is not Caucasian. Yeah, so it's like they said the thing about the black jobs, and it's like, what is a black job? It says racism is anti-capitalism, anti-profits, and anti-good economics. Another one, USA isn't even the most diverse country, North America. I don't know, bro. Like, I don't know, bro. You're going to have to look at some stats. Anyways, I'm going to get out of here because I've been on here too long. I'm almost at 4 hours. So, peace and love. Thank y'all for joining. Thank y'all for listening. We'll be back.